Good evening, dear viewers of The Sage Within. Thank you for taking a precious moment of your busy life to sit down and listen with us today. In a world that rushes by so fast, a few quiet minutes of reflection have become a rare treasure, a gentle paradox worth pondering. The world is not short of money, it's short of eyes that can see value everywhere. The wealthy aren't rich because they were born with gold. They're rich because they know how to turn small things into assets and invisible ideas into streams of income. A thought, a bitter lesson, even pain itself in the hands of a wise person can all become gold. Sound familiar? We often complain that we lack capital, opportunity, or luck. But what we truly lack is the ability to recognize value. Everything around us can become a source of wealth if only we know how. I once met an old man selling tea on a scorching summer day. A tired traveler sipped his cup and sighed. "Old man, what's so special about your tea that everyone keeps coming here?" The old man smiled gently and said, "They're not just buying tea, they're buying a moment of rest, a feeling of peace." He wasn't selling tea, he was selling tranquility, and that tranquility turned into wealth. That, my friends, is the essence of what we'll explore today. Wealth doesn't come from having a lot of money, but from seeing value and knowing how to transform it. Every teaching about the self, time, knowledge, relationships, and habits is a golden mine waiting to be discovered. So before we learn how to turn the world into wealth, we must start with the most important thing, turning ourselves into our greatest asset. Dear friends, before we continue, if any part of this message touched your heart, please leave a comment so we can share thoughts together. A simple like, share, or subscribe is your way of walking beside this channel. Now let us begin our first lesson. Lesson 1, you are the original stock you must invest. And have you ever wondered, if you yourself were a company, would your stock be rising or falling? Wise people don't see themselves as a burden. They see themselves as the original stock, the foundation that generates every other form of wealth. If you invest in your knowledge, your health, your skills, and your character, your personal value will keep growing and yield returns over time. Ignore it, and your stock will slowly lose trust in the market of your own life and the people around you. Long ago, there were two blacksmith brothers in a small village. The elder worked the same old way, hammer and anvil every single day, earning just a few coins for his labor. The younger brother studied harder, experimented with steel mixtures, and learned to craft new farming tools. One day, a wealthy landowner came by and asked, "Can you forge me a plow that lasts longer than the others?" The older brother shook his head. "I only know the old way." The younger smiled. "I'll give it a try." Years later, the younger's plows were famous across the region. The older brother still sat beside his worn-out forge. One day, watching his brother return home on a cart full of new tools, the elder sighed in silence, half regret, half sorrow. "We're both blacksmiths. How did it turn out so different?" The younger simply replied, "The difference isn't in the hammer. It's that I forged myself before I forged the iron." Today, anyone can become an investor in themselves, an engineer upgrading digital skills, a teacher starting online classes, a farmer promoting clean produce on social media. All are creating wealth because they increase their own value. A person is like a piece of land. Leave it barren and only weeds will grow. Cultivate it and it will bear harvest for years to come. But to cultivate yourself, you need the rarest resources of all, time and discipline. Lesson 2, turn your health into an irreplaceable asset. People often say a healthy person has 100 dreams, but a sick person has only one. When health is gone, every chance to turn money into reality disappears. Health is the original capital, the very foundation we often take for granted. The wise treat their body like a savings bank, where every choice earns interest for the future. A strong body and a clear mind allow us to work longer and create lasting value. You can lose money and earn it back, but once health is lost, everything else becomes meaningless. There was once a wealthy merchant in Guangzhou. He spent his entire life chasing business deals, day and night without rest. At the age of 50, he fell seriously ill. The doctor warned him, If you don't slow down, you won't last much longer. The man sighed. All these years I've been saving money, and now I must spend it to buy back my health. From that moment, he began to change. He started practicing gentle exercises, ate more mindfully, and finally realized something profound. Health was the greatest asset he had long forgotten. Many nights lying on his sickbed, he asked himself, if I die today, what meaning will all my money have? That fear changed his entire way of living. He came to understand that health is not only for living long, but for living well. A healthy body allows us to work boldly, enjoy happiness, and turn plans into reality. Today, every successful entrepreneur makes time for exercise, a balanced diet, and proper sleep. They know that good health is the lever that multiplies productivity, creativity, and endurance. Ordinary people can do the same. Every time we move our bodies, we deposit wealth into the bank of health for our future. Health is like fertile soil. If the soil is rich, anything can grow. If it is barren, even golden seeds will turn to dust. When we have health, we need one more tool, a machine within the mind that runs our entire life. That tool is thought, the invisible engine of wealth that few people ever train. Lesson 3, turn your mind into a money printing machine. Have you ever noticed? The same stone can appear useless to one person, yet become a masterpiece worth 100 times more in the hands of another. The difference lies in the mind. The mind is an invisible money printing factory. Money slips through the hands of those who never learn to think. But in the hands of those who do, every coin begins to multiply. Wealth does not start from the wallet. It begins with how we see the world. Long ago in Italy, there lived a poor sculptor. He owned only a small workshop and a few cracked pieces of marble. His neighbors mocked him. Who would ever buy broken stone? They laughed. But the young artist kept working patiently, turning every crack into the folds of clothing and every rough patch into beautiful detail. In the end, his statue of David astonished the world. To others, it was just a block of ruined stone. To him, it was a masterpiece. Michelangelo once said, "Inside that block of stone, I saw an angel. My task was to set him free." That single sentence revealed a profound truth. True value does not lie in the raw material, but in the creative mind that gives it form. He proved that real wealth does not live in the hands, but in the mind. The wise turn obstacles into advantages and transform waste into treasure. Today, creative thinking is still printing money every day. Someone recycles plastic into household goods and sells them online. A programmer turns a small idea into an app with millions of users. A farmer switches to organic crops and multiplies the worth of every harvest. All of them are operating a money printing machine powered by a different way of thinking. Thought is like fire hidden in stone. Most people only see a cold, lifeless rock, but the wise know where to strike to spark the light. A light bright enough to illuminate a lifetime. And once the mind is lit, we need another invisible force to reach the world. That force is character, the quiet energy that makes others remember you and trust you. Lesson 4, turn character into personal brand. There are people who enter a room and capture everyone's attention even before they speak. And there are others who talk all day, yet no one truly listens. The difference lies in character. Character is invisible, yet it holds enormous visible value. It is the silent combination of confidence, manners, and the way we live our lives. People with strong character naturally inspire trust, and trust is the most powerful currency in every human exchange. A personal brand is not only built on talent, but on the invisible aura we project through our words and actions. In the era of the Three Kingdoms in ancient China, the warlord Cao Cao once invited Guan Yu to serve under his command. He said, "I will grant you gold and noble titles." Guan Yu replied, "I will accept them only out of respect for your kindness. But my heart belongs to my lord Liu Bei." Even his enemy admired his integrity. For generations, people have remembered Guan Yu not just for his strength, but for his unwavering loyalty, a quality that became his eternal brand. Cao Cao once sighed over wine and said, "To be friends with Guan Yu is harder than to become emperor." That was the respect born not from fear or power, but from character. People may forget what you say, but they will never forget how you made them feel. Character is the fragrance that lingers long after words are gone. It is the invisible mark that draws people close and opens doors to opportunity. In today's world, the same truth remains. A trusted leader is not followed only for their decisions, but for the integrity that makes others believe in their vision. A successful seller wins not only through products, but through sincerity that makes customers return again and again. Character becomes brand, and brand creates wealth. Character is like perfume, unseen, yet it spreads through the air, leaving a memory that others cannot forget. But to build a lasting character, one must have a foundation made from real experiences, the kind that polish the soul and refine the heart. Lesson 5. Turn life experiences into invisible capital. Some failures crush a person, while others turn those same moments into gold. The difference is not fate, but how each person transforms experience into capital. Experience is the invisible university we all attend. Every fall, every journey, every encounter can become a source of value if we learn the right lessons and apply them to life. The wealthy are not those who never fail. They are those who turn failure into investment. The poor, in contrast, often turn experience into an excuse. Howard Schultz, the founder of Starbucks, grew up in a poor neighborhood. His father lost his job after a small injury. Instead of blaming life, Howard transformed that pain into purpose. He said, "I will create a workplace where every employee is treated with respect." From a single coffee shop, he built a global empire. Many laughed at him back then. "It's just a coffee shop," they said. How could that ever change anyone's life? But the bitterness of his childhood became the fire that fueled his determination. He understood that every experience is a seed. Sow it in the soil of resentment, and it grows into thorns. Sow it in the soil of knowledge, and it bears fruit that multiplies in value. In everyday life, many people are quietly turning their experiences into wealth. A single mother writes a blog about her journey and becomes a best-selling author. An employee fired from a company starts a business of their own. A farmer who once lost a harvest learns a new technique and begins selling seeds across his region. Experience is raw gold. Polish it and it becomes a gem. Experience is also like a scar. If you hide it, it remains a wound. But if you show it with pride, it becomes a medal of honor. And for experiences to truly turn into wealth, one must have a thread called discipline. It keeps us steady on the path and turns the self into an enduring source of value. Lesson 6. Turns self-discipline into the lever of wealth. Many people believe that wealth comes from luck, but in truth, lasting wealth comes from discipline. Without discipline, even talent fades away. With discipline, even ordinary people can achieve extraordinary things. Discipline is the lever that lifts a person and turns them into a living asset. It keeps us on the right path and helps small habits accumulate into great results. A person without discipline is like a boat without a rudder, spinning aimlessly in the storm. A disciplined person, on the other hand, knows how to use the wind to go farther. Nam was a young office worker. His friends often invited him to drink after work. One evening they called and said, "Come have a few beers, you can rest tomorrow." Nam smiled. "I can't. I still have to study for my English course." His friends laughed. "Lessons can wait till tomorrow. Beer can't." Nam replied softly, "If I keep saying tomorrow, I'll still be in the same place the day after." Years later, Nam became a department manager. He had spent each night studying, reading, and exercising. His consistency built the success that others called luck. Meanwhile, his friends were still sitting at the same bar tables, telling the same stories. There were times when Nam felt tired, watching them laugh together, and he wondered if he was missing out. But deep down, he reminded himself, "If I compromise today, I will spend my whole life compromising." That quiet reminder kept him standing tall. Nam learned that true wealth does not begin with big opportunities, but with small disciplines practiced every single day. Discipline is the compound interest of the self. Day by day, it multiplies quietly into strength and success. Today, every successful person is a disciple of discipline. The entrepreneur wakes up early to exercise. The investor tracks daily expenses. The artist keeps practicing, even on quiet days. Discipline turns repetition into power, and that power becomes the lever that transforms a person into their greatest asset. Discipline is like the string of a bow. If it is loose, the arrow falls at your feet. But when it is drawn tight, it can soar across 1,000 miles. When we have built health, mindset, character, experience, and discipline, we ourselves become the foundation of wealth. And once the roots are strong, we are ready for the next journey, learning to turn time into the one currency that can never be printed again. Lesson 7, time is the fairest currency. There is one kind of currency in this world that everyone receives in equal measure each day, and that currency is time. Everyone has the same 24 hours. Some people turn those hours into knowledge, wealth, and success. Others let them slip away into alcohol, distractions, and meaningless worries. Time is fair, sometimes so fair it's cruel. It doesn't care if you're rich or poor, noble or ordinary. The only thing that makes a difference is how each of us chooses to use it. The rich don't have more hours than the poor. They simply use them better. Every passing minute is a choice, a small act of spending. And each of us must decide whether to spend it on what brings growth or waste it on what brings regret. Minter, a college student, spent every afternoon after class hanging out and playing video games with his friends. His roommate, Hui, used those same hours to learn graphic design. Min would laugh and tease him. "Come on, studying all the time is boring. Let's play for a bit." Hui would smile and answer softly, "Playing is fun, but I don't want to trade my future for a few laughs." 3 years later, Min was still searching for a job. Hui, on the other hand, had opened his own small design studio and was working steadily with clients. There were nights when Hui felt exhausted. He could hear the laughter and music from the next room, and a part of him wanted to join. But he reminded himself, every hour that passes will never return. If I give in today, I'll pay the price twice tomorrow. That was when he realized something powerful. The difference between the rich and the poor isn't luck. It's how they see time. The rich treat time as capital. The poor treat it as trash. Today, so many people have built their success by using even the smallest pockets of time. A rideshare driver listens to language lessons while waiting for passengers. A mother runs an online shop while her baby sleeps. A student learns new skills during lunch breaks. There is no such thing as free time. There is only time that hasn't been used wisely. Time is like sand in an hourglass. If you let it slip through your fingers, you'll be left with dust. But if you gather it carefully, you can water an entire field of dreams. And to truly turn time into lasting wealth, we must learn one more secret: the art of choosing what truly matters most. Lesson 8, knowing what to prioritize, turning small hours into great value. The problem isn't that we lack time, it's that we spread our time too thin, pouring it into things that don't really matter. When we set the wrong priorities, time disappears. But when we choose the right ones, time multiplies in value. Time itself is equal for everyone. It's how we arrange it that determines the outcome. The wise place important things first. The foolish stay busy with small tasks that leave nothing behind. A single day can be filled with dozens of activities, but sometimes one right choice is enough to change an entire life. Lan, a young accountant, spent her days buried in paperwork. Every night she came home and scrolled through her phone for hours. One evening, a coworker asked, "Do you want to get promoted?" Lan sighed. "Of course I do, but I'm too busy." Her colleague smiled and said, "Being busy just means you haven't learned to prioritize. With the same evening, you could scroll online or study for your certification. Which one gets you closer to your dream?" Lan froze for a moment. That night, she made a decision to change. A year later, she was promoted to a management position, while many of her coworkers were still standing still. There were nights when her hands reached for the phone, but her mind whispered, "If I give in tonight, tomorrow I'll fall one step behind." That tiny moment of resistance was a thin line between progress and stagnation. Lan finally realized something profound. It's not about how much you do, but what you choose to do. Time only becomes valuable when it's invested in the right place. Today, the 80-20 rule is used everywhere. 20% of the right actions create 80% of the results. Young people who focus on learning core skills instead of dabbling in everything move forward faster. Entrepreneurs who serve their highest value customers instead of chasing everyone build stronger, more sustainable businesses. Time is like sunlight. When it spreads everywhere, it only warms the air. But when it passes through a single lens, it can set paper on fire. And to focus your time on what truly matters, you must develop one more essential skill: the courage to say no to what isn't worth your life. Lesson 9, letting go of the unnecessary, saving time for what truly matters. People often complain that they don't have enough time, But the truth is, it's not that we lack time. We simply spend it on things that don't matter. Time is like a budget. If we spend it all on small, meaningless things, there won't be anything left for the big goals that truly matter. The wise know how to say no. They dare to cut away the excess so they can use their time for what really brings value. Tuan, an office worker, was constantly invited by friends to grab coffee or go drinking after work. One evening, his wife asked, "You've been coming home late every night. When will you finish your personal project?" Tuan fell silent. That night, his friends called again. "Come hang out. There's a fun party tonight." Tuan replied, "Sorry, I'm working on my business plan." His friends laughed. "Man, you're always so serious." But those quiet refusals helped Tuan finish his project and open his very own small shop. At first, Tuan felt guilty. He worried his friends would think he was boring or cold. But then he realized, I don't live to please others. I live for the future I'm building. He understood that cutting things out isn't selfish. It's a way of respecting time as the precious asset it truly is. Today, many successful entrepreneurs live by that same principle. They boldly decline meetings, projects, and social events that don't create real value. Young people can do the same. Turn off the useless notifications. Spend less time gossiping. Invest those hours in learning, creating, and self-growth. Time is like a garden. If we don't pull the weeds, the flowers will never bloom. Only when we learn to remove the unnecessary can we truly focus. And that focus is the secret to turning every hour of life into an invisible treasure. Lesson 10, focus. Turning every hour into a treasure. One focused hour is worth more than 10 distracted ones. Focus is the key that turns short moments of time into great value. The power of time doesn't lie in its quantity, but in the quality of attention we give to it. When we focus, time compresses. 1 hour can be worth 10. But those who cannot focus will always feel time slipping away without leaving anything behind. Mai, a college student, often spent hours sitting at her desk. Yet her mind kept drifting toward her phone. Her grades dropped and she sighed. "I study all the time, but nothing sticks." Her teacher smiled and said, "Try this. Study for 25 minutes with full focus, then take a 5-minute break and repeat." Mai followed his advice. After just a few sessions, she was amazed to realize that 2 hours of focused study were worth more than an entire day of scattered effort. Thanks to that method, her grades improved. And later, when she started working, she kept using the same technique, finishing tasks faster and feeling less stressed. There were moments she wanted to give up, thinking she just wasn't smart enough. But then she realized it wasn't intelligence she lacked. She had simply never learned how to focus. That realization reignited her confidence. She understood that focus doesn't just save time, it gives you a sense of control over your own life. Today, many modern companies use the deep work method, a way to cut through distractions and channel full attention into one meaningful task. Young people who turn off social media while studying, entrepreneurs who reserve golden hours for creativity, they're all transforming every hour into treasure. Focus is like sunlight passing through a lens. If scattered, it only warms. But when it converges at one point, it can burn through steel. And once we've learned how to focus, we can even make use of idle moments, turning waiting into opportunity and every passing minute into something valuable. Dear friends, the old saying goes, one tree alone cannot make a mountain, but 3 trees together can. Before continuing this journey, we invite you to leave a comment, share your thoughts, click like, and subscribe to the channel. So together, we can build a mountain of wisdom. And now please join us for the next part of The Sage Within. Lesson 11, turning waiting time into opportunity. The wise never let time go to waste. Moments of waiting, if used well, can turn into the hidden gold of life. Waiting time often feels like an empty space, but it's in that very space that ideas are born and opportunities begin to take shape. Those who know how to live turn every minute of waiting into a minute of learning, reflecting, and connecting. Confucius once had a student named Zilu, a man with a fiery temper who hated waiting. One day, as they were traveling together, their carriage broke down in the middle of the road. Frustrated, Zilu complained, "At this rate, when will we ever get there?" Confucius calmly took out a book and began to read. With a gentle voice, he said, "Waiting is heaven's way of giving us another lesson. If you lose your patience, you only waste more time. But if you stay calm, you gain wisdom instead." Those words struck Zilu deeply. From that day forward, he learned how to stay composed in the face of hardship. Zilu once thought waiting was useless, but through one moment of waiting, he gained a lesson that guided him for the rest of his life. There's no such thing as dead time, only people who die within their own time. When we make use of every minute we wait, we turn it into an opportunity that others overlook. Today, a person who reads while riding the bus, a student who studies a new language while standing in line, or a business person who networks at a social event, all of them are turning their waiting time into valuable capital. Waiting time is like a field left untouched. If abandoned, only weeds will grow. But if you plant seeds, you'll harvest a golden season. And waiting is not only for learning, it's also for seeing further ahead, for investing time in lasting values instead of chasing temporary results. Lesson 12, investing time for long-term value. A farmer never plants seeds today and expects to harvest them tomorrow. Time only brings profit when it's given the chance to mature. Only those patient enough to invest for the long run can reap fruits that truly last. The wise treat time like real investors. They don't spend it all on short-lived pleasures. Instead, they deposit it into places where the returns will multiply over time. Learning, practicing, building credibility, these are all long-term investments. Kai, an office worker, chose to spend his evenings studying information technology instead of using his salary for shopping or entertainment. His friends often teased him, "You're wasting your youth. Just have some fun." Kai only smiled and said, "I'm putting my money in the bank of the future." A year later, when his company launched a new tech project, he was promoted to a management position. Meanwhile, his friends were still stuck with the same old salaries. There were times when Kai felt discouraged, feeling out of step with everyone else, but he kept his faith. "The time I invest today," he told himself, "is the bridge that will carry me into tomorrow." He realized that real wealth doesn't come from short-lived pleasures. It comes from the years spent patiently investing in yourself. Today, the wise know how to trade 5 years of learning a new skill for decades of freedom and success. They spend time building their personal brand instead of chasing fleeting joys. Those who know how to invest their time for the long term earn dividends for life. Time is like the seed of a great tree. You can't force it to grow overnight, but if you plant and nurture it each day, one day it will offer shade for a lifetime. And so we come to see that time is the one currency that can never be reprinted. When we learn to cherish every second and invest it wisely, we become rich from the very roots. In the next lesson, we'll discover how to transform knowledge, the invisible kind of wealth, into an invaluable lifelong asset. Lesson 13, knowledge, the startup capital no one can steal. Gold and silver can be lost. Houses and land can be taken away, but the knowledge in your mind can never be stolen. Knowledge is a very special kind of capital. The more you share it, the more it grows. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. Though invisible, it creates countless visible values. Even without financial capital, a person can still start a business with knowledge as their foundation. It is the seed capital of every great journey. There was once a poor girl from the countryside who finished high school and moved to the city to work in a factory. Every evening after her shift, she studied computer science from free online courses. Her roommate asked, "Why study so hard? You still have to work your shift tomorrow." The girl simply smiled and said, "One day I'll live by what's in my head, not by the strength of my hands." 3 years later, she became an office employee and soon after opened her own small service company. Her first capital wasn't money. It was the knowledge she had taught herself. There were moments when she wanted to give up, feeling poor and powerless, believing that studying wouldn't change anything. But with every new skill she learned, a small spark of hope lit up inside her. She realized that no one could ever take away what she had learned. She came to see knowledge as the original seed, planted today, that would bloom and bear fruit for the future. Today, millions of people around the world are freelancing, starting businesses and growing their careers, all powered by their knowledge. From technology and languages to management and creativity, these are forms of intellectual capital that grow the more you use them. Financial capital may run out, but knowledge multiplies the more it's applied. Knowledge is like a flame. One candle can light 1,000 others without losing its own fire. And for knowledge to truly become an asset, we must not only learn to know, but learn to do, turning what we know into real value in life. Lesson 14, learn to apply, turning words into wealth. Many people spend their whole lives studying, yet remain poor, because they only learn to remember, not to apply. Knowledge is just a seed. If it's never planted in the soil of action, it will lie dormant forever on the shelves of old books. Learning without applying becomes a burden. Only when we learn to use knowledge does it truly become an asset. Huang, a young engineer, had taken countless management courses. His notebooks were full of detailed notes, but he never opened them again. One day, his boss assigned him a tough project. His coworkers grew anxious, while Huang asked himself, if I don't try to apply what I've learned, then what was the point of all that studying? He decided to put his knowledge into practice, and the project turned out to be a huge success. His colleagues praised him. "You're amazing. How did you do it?" Huang smiled and said, "I just used what I had already learned." There were moments when he doubted himself, wondering if theory could ever work in real life. But once he took action, he discovered that knowledge only gains power when it meets the real world. He realized that we learn not to fill our heads, but to make life easier, to solve problems, and to bring change. Today, many people have transformed their lives simply because they knew how to apply what they learned. A marketing student opens an online shop. A farmer learns new techniques and raises the value of his crops. A college student turns knowledge into a startup project. Learning without using is wasteful. Learning to apply brings profit. Knowledge is like a key. If you just keep it hidden, it's nothing but a small piece of metal. But if you use it at the right moment, it can unlock the treasure chest of life. And once knowledge has been applied, the next step is not to keep it for yourself, but to share it so its value multiplies. Lesson 15, share knowledge to multiply its value. In a small countryside village, there was an old teacher who, even after retirement, continued to run a free class for poor children. Someone once asked him, "You teach without getting paid. What do you gain from that?" The old man smiled gently and said, "Knowledge is like a lamp. The more people I help light theirs, the brighter my own home becomes." The more we share knowledge, the greater its value grows. Wise people never keep their knowledge to themselves. They teach, write, speak, and share it. Through that sharing, knowledge spreads and transforms into new opportunities. Sharing knowledge doesn't make you lose it. In fact, it turns knowledge into living capital, flowing freely from person to person, nourishing both the giver and the receiver. There was a young engineer who often wrote blog posts about his work experience. His friends teased him, "That's a waste of effort. If everyone knows what you know, where's your advantage?" He simply smiled and replied, "Knowledge truly becomes mine only when it helps someone else." Later, those same blog posts caught the attention of several companies. He was invited to become a consultant and earned several times more than before. At first, he worried, wondering if sharing would make him lose his edge. But then he realized, when you help others grow, you grow too. Knowledge kept private is a small resource. Shared knowledge becomes collective wealth, creating greater value for everyone involved. Today, countless people share knowledge through social media, YouTube, podcasts, and online courses. They become experts, authors, and speakers, but most importantly, they become a source of inspiration for others. Knowledge never disappears. It simply transforms into trust, into reputation, and finally into prosperity. Knowledge is like water. When it flows, it stays clear. When it stands still, it turns murky. The more it moves, the more it gives life to everything it touches. But sharing is not the end of the journey. Wise people also know how to turn knowledge into skill, transforming what they know into what they can truly do. Lesson 16, turn knowledge into skill, turn knowing into doing. A sword, no matter how precious, is only a decoration if it hangs on the wall. Only through training does it become a true weapon. Knowledge is the same. It is the seed, but skill is when that seed has grown into a living tree. Learning to know is only the beginning. Practicing until you can do it, that's what truly matters. Wise people always turn what they've learned into practical skills, and from those skills, they create value that others need. A young woman who studied foreign languages, graduated with honors, but still couldn't find a job. During one interview, the manager asked, "Can you translate this paragraph right now?" She froze, unable to speak fluently. After that day, Ha made a decision to change. Every evening, she spent 1 hour practicing speaking and live translation using news articles and movie clips. A year later, she spoke fluently and was hired by an international company. That was when the knowledge in her books finally turned into real-life skill. There were days when she felt exhausted, wondering why, after so many years of study, she still wasn't good enough. But each time she conquered a difficult translation, she realized something. She was turning what she knew into what she could do. And that was the moment knowledge started to pay off. She understood that knowledge only becomes valuable when it flows into the hands and feet, becoming a skill that creates tangible results. In today's world, skills are what determine your salary and opportunities. Communication skills, tech skills, management skills. A diploma may look impressive, but it's your skills that make others willing to pay for what you can do. Knowledge is like flour. Left untouched, no one can eat it. But when kneaded into bread, it can feed an entire family. And once you've built your skills, the next step is to keep learning and adapting so your knowledge never becomes outdated. Lesson 17, keep knowledge fresh, the art of staying updated. If you were still using a phone from 15 years ago, would anyone want to buy it? Then why do we keep using outdated knowledge to face a world that changes every single day? Knowledge is just like technology. If it's not updated, it becomes obsolete. Truly wealthy people don't rely on what they already know. Their strength lies in constantly refreshing their knowledge to adapt to the times. Lasting wealth doesn't come from money. It comes from the ability to keep learning for life. Mr. Lamb, a longtime tailor, had mastered the art of hand sewing. One day his son said, "Dad, you should learn industrial sewing. Customers now want things faster and cheaper." Mr. Lamb brushed it off. "I've done this for decades. Everyone knows my craftsmanship." But only a few years later, his customers began to fade away, and his shop grew empty. That's when he was forced to start over, to learn new methods and modern technology. By daring to adapt, he saved his family's business. Had he stayed stubborn, he would have gone bankrupt long ago. There were moments when he sighed to himself, "If only I had learned sooner, I wouldn't have lost so many clients." That regret became a valuable lesson. Knowledge that isn't renewed eventually turns into a burden. Only when refreshed does it continue to bring profit and guidance. Today, an accountant who learns a new software keeps their job. A farmer who adopts clean farming methods sells for higher prices. An entrepreneur who keeps up with market trends stays strong through every shift. Knowledge only remains valuable when it's still relevant. Knowledge is like water in a jar. You never change it, it will slowly turn murky. And to keep knowledge fresh, not just for ourselves, we must take it one step deeper. To transform knowledge into wisdom, to know what to hold on to and what to let go. Lesson 18, turn knowledge into wisdom. Choose what matters to grow rich. There are times when we read too much, listen too much, until our minds become cluttered and restless. I once asked myself, is more knowledge always better? Or is it more important to know how to filter it, to turn it into wisdom? Knowledge is the raw material. Wisdom is the refined essence. Wise people don't chase the quantity of what they know. They filter, distill, and keep only what truly matters. It is wisdom, not mere knowledge, that guides a person and brings lasting value. A young student once asked his teacher, "Master, how many books must I read to become a great person?" The teacher smiled kindly and said, "It's not about how many books you read, but about how much you truly understand and how much of it you live by." The student thought deeply about those words. He stopped reading aimlessly. Instead, he chose fewer books, read more deeply, reflected carefully, and applied what he learned to daily life. In time, that focus and depth made him far more successful than those who only read for show. There were moments when he felt behind his peers, seeing them consume more books than he did. But when he noticed how they struggled to act while he could apply what he knew with confidence, he realized something. Wisdom, not quantity, is the true wealth. Knowledge without use is a burden. Wisdom, even when small, becomes lasting fortune. In today's world overflowing with information, success doesn't belong to those who know the most, but to those who choose the best to know. Entrepreneurs who focus on the right trends instead of chasing all of them. Employees who master core skills instead of dabbling in everything. Students who study what they love instead of learning everything at once. Selection is the bridge that turns knowledge into wisdom. Knowledge is like raw ore. Wisdom is the gold refined from it. Those who carry the whole rock feel its weight. Those who refine it walk away rich. And in that way, knowledge, once invisible, becomes a true form of wealth when we learn to keep, apply, share, and filter it. The next step takes us even further, into another form of wealth just as precious. Relationships, the invisible capital that can shape our entire fortune in life. Lesson 19, choose the right friends, choose your destiny. The ancients used to say, "Tell me who your friends are, and I'll tell you who you are. Friends do more than reflect who we are. They help shape our destiny. Walk beside the diligent, and you'll learn discipline. Walk beside the lazy, and you'll slowly learn to delay. Relationships are like mirrors. They reveal the future version of yourself. Wise people choose companions who lift them higher, not those who drag them down. Hung and Dewey were college friends. Hung loved having fun, always inviting Dewey out to hang around and party. One day, Dewey refused. "I'm going to work part-time to gain experience." Hung laughed. "Working part-time? You'll never get rich that way." Years later, Hung was still stuck in small, unstable jobs. Dewey, on the other hand, used the experience he gained back then to start his own business. There were moments when Dee felt lonely, missing out on the laughter and the nights out. But he told himself, "A true friend is someone who helps me go further, not someone who just pulls me out to play." He came to understand that choosing friends is choosing your fate. The right friend can open doors in your life. The wrong one can lock your future shut. Today, many young people have transformed their lives simply by finding the right circle of friends. Those who learn languages together, start businesses together, or work out to stay healthy. Conversely, many have fallen behind by surrounding themselves with drinking buddies, gamblers, and endless empty pleasures. Relationships are invisible capital, but they can deeply affect tangible wealth. Friends are like vines wrapping around a tree. If they bloom with flowers, they add beauty and strength. If they grow with thorns, they drain the life from within. And beyond choosing friends wisely, we must also learn to build credibility in every relationship. Because trust is the strongest currency in every exchange between human beings. Lesson 20, reputation, the invisible currency in every relationship. In a small village, there was an old shopkeeper who had spent his life selling rice. He had a habit of keeping a ledger for his loyal customers. Even when someone owed him money, he would smile and say, "Take the rice home. I trust you." People in the village often asked, "Aren't you afraid they won't pay you back?" He would simply smile and reply, "Losing a few bags of rice is better than losing my reputation. If I keep my word, my customers will never leave me." And indeed, his little rice shop continued to thrive for generations. Reputation is the invisible currency in every human connection. A promise kept is worth more than 1,000 fancy words. Wise people treat their reputation as their greatest capital. From that trust, they build relationships. And trust itself becomes the foundation of both money and opportunity. In the history of Japanese commerce, the Mitsui family began with a small fabric shop. Their motto was simple: fair price, no deceit. That single phrase drew more and more customers. Because they kept their integrity, they grew into the world-renowned Mitsui Group. Some merchants mocked them for not getting rich quickly. But Mitsui believed, it's better to grow slow than to fade fast. Their reputation became a seal of longevity. It was an invisible currency. The more they used it, the more valuable it became. And once it's lost, no amount of money can ever buy it back. In today's world, both personal and business reputations determine success or failure. A doctor with a good name earns trust and patience. A store that keeps its word earns returning customers. A person who honors their promises earns faith, and with that faith comes opportunity. Reputation is like a bridge. Cross it safely once, and people will trust it forever. Let it collapse just once, and no one will dare to walk it again. When you build a solid reputation, your relationships become more than acquaintances. They turn into real assets, opening doors to partnerships and prosperity you never expected. Dear friends, before we continue this journey, let me share a small secret. Every like from you is a gentle pat on our shoulder. Every share brings a new companion to the path. And every subscribe is a promise that we'll meet again. Will you keep that promise with us? Lesson 21, respect the wise, invest with your heart. Relationships are not just built on mutual benefit. They are shaped by the attitude we bring to others. Respecting those with wisdom is one of the greatest forms of investment. A wise person never treats relationships as tools, but as seeds. Only when those seeds are planted with sincerity and watered with genuine respect can they grow into strong, lasting trees. Benefits may come and go, but respect lays roots that endure. During the spring and autumn period, Duke Qi personally went to invite Guanzhong to serve as his advisor, even though Guanzhong had once stood on the side of his rival. Some people warned him, "He used to be your enemy. Why humble yourself before him?" The Duke replied, "Our nation honors the talented, not the grudges." Because of that humility, Guanzhong devoted himself to the duke, and together they built Qi into a dominant power. At first, many generals grumbled, thinking their king had lowered his dignity. But when the nation prospered, they finally understood. That respect had been his most valuable capital. To respect the wise is the smartest investment of all, for it brings not only talent, but also loyalty. In modern life, a leader who values and appreciates talent will keep a strong, devoted team. An employee who respects coworkers will always find support when needed. Relationships built on respect last far longer than those built only on profit. Respect is like the deep roots of a tree. Storms may tear off leaves and branches, but the tree stands firm because its roots hold strong. And those who truly understand respect also know how to use relationships to create new value, not just to take from others. Two oxen pulling one plow can finish the field sooner. One hand alone makes no sound, but two hands together create the music of cooperation. A relationship only bears fruit when both sides create value together. The wise see relationships as collaboration, not dependence. Partnerships that benefit both sides will last for years. If you only take and never give, the bond will fade. But if both give and receive, the bond will thrive endlessly. In ancient times, Zhang Liang, the strategist of Liu Bang, once said, "If I seek only personal gain, I will soon be abandoned. But if I help the Han King succeed, then I too shall succeed." Through that belief, he and Liu Bang founded the great Han dynasty. Their relationship was not one-sided, but one of mutual growth. Many people asked him, "Don't you lose out by giving so much?" Zhang Liang smiled and replied, "Helping others build their legacy is also building my own." He proved that true wisdom in relationships is not about chasing existing benefits, but about creating new ones together. Today, every successful startup is built on collaboration. Engineers and investors, designers and marketers, salespeople and suppliers, all working hand in hand to create shared value. That is how relationships become long-term capital that grows with time. Relationships are like two rivers meeting. If they flow together, they form a mighty current. If they clash, they only create foam and disappear. And once we learn to build relationships that create value, we come to see another truth. Some connections are best kept at a respectful distance, for not everyone is meant to walk closely beside us. Lesson 22, know when to keep distance, so relationships don't become a burden. Nam had an old friend who often borrowed money, but never paid it back on time. One day, that friend came again. "Nam, please lend me some money one more time. I promise I'll pay it back for sure this time." Nam looked him in the eye and gently said, "I value our friendship, but I can't let it turn into a burden." From that day on, he kept some distance, because not every relationship is meant to be held too tightly. Some relationships, if they get too close, will drain your energy, your time, and even your money. A wise person knows how to keep the right distance, close enough to stay connected, but far enough to stay free. At first, Nam felt uneasy. He wondered, am I being heartless by turning him down? But later, when he saw his friends still living the same careless way, he finally understood. Not everyone is meant to walk beside us. Keeping distance is not being cold, it's knowing how to protect yourself. He realized that if he kept giving in, one day he would be the one paying the price. And when that happens, you'll lose both your money and your friendship. Not every relationship is worth holding on to. Only those built on mutual respect and care truly deserve to last. In work, sometimes you must be firm with those who take advantage of your trust. In life, you need to step away from gatherings that bring no real value. Keeping distance is keeping healthy boundaries. Relationships are like fire. Get too close and you'll get burned. Stay too far and you'll freeze. Only at the right distance does it give warmth without harm. And once you learn that balance, you'll realize something deeper. That keeping one true friend is worth far more than having 1,000 shallow ones. Lesson 23, one true friend is worth more than 1,000 acquaintances. In life, we meet thousands of people, but how many of them truly understand us and then stand by us when we are weak? I once realized something important. Wealth doesn't come from knowing many people. It comes from having a few true friends who truly care. A wise person never counts friends by number, but measures them by depth of loyalty and sincerity. A true friend who understands you and chooses to walk beside you is worth far more than 100 people who only cheer from the sidelines. During the Warring States period, Sun Bin was betrayed by Pan Huan. He was crippled and thought his life was over. But thanks to his loyal friend Tianji, who trusted and protected him, Sun Bin found the strength to rise again and later defeated Pang Huan at the Battle of Maling. Without that one true friend, his brilliance might have been buried forever. When Sun Bin sat in his cell, he thought he had lost everything. But because of his friend's faith, he rediscovered the meaning of living on. A true friend is more than a companion. They are a kind of spiritual wealth, a hand reaching out to you in the dark. With such a friend, you can go farther than any material possession can take you. In today's world, a co-founder who truly understands you is worth more than 100 shallow investors. A sincere colleague is more valuable than 1,000 polite connections. The quality of your relationship shapes the quality of your life. A true friend is like a precious gem in a sea of sand. Among countless grains of dust, one shining stone can change your destiny. When you learn to choose friends wisely, keep your word, create value, and cherish true friendship, you will understand this. Relationships are not just social capital, they are hidden financial capital too. They become the bridge that leads you to your next chapter. Now look back on everything so far. You'll see that relationships are a kind of invisible wealth. Choosing the right friends, keeping your integrity, knowing healthy boundaries, and treasuring your true companions. These can shape not only your success, but your entire fate. Yet no matter how valuable friends or allies may be, life will still bring moments of failure. There will be times when defeat feels final, but the wise understand that failure is not the end. It's just an investment that pays its returns later. Through every fall, we gain priceless lessons, the kind of profit no school can ever teach. So let's step together into the next journey of the sage within, learning how to turn failure into future profit, where every setback is no longer a loss, but a stepping stone toward lasting success and true wealth. Lesson 24, failure is the tuition you have to pay. Every successful person has paid tuition for failure. That cost may come in money, in time, or in tears, but it buys lessons no school or textbook could ever teach. Failure is not a total loss. It's an investment paid in advance for the future. A wise person sees every fall as a tuition fee, not a scar. And the deeper the pain, the greater the capital gain. Kwang once opened his first restaurant, but because of poor management, he had to close it after just 6 months. His friends teased him, "That's money down the drain." He simply smiled. "Maybe," he said, "but I'll call it tuition." After that failure, he learned how to choose better locations, manage cash flow, and maintain food quality. The second time, his restaurant was packed with customers. By the third, he had built an entire chain of popular eateries. There were nights when he sat alone in the empty kitchen and wondered, "Am I just a failure?" Then he thought, "If this is tuition, then I'm investing in my next success." That thought kept him standing tall. Failure doesn't destroy us. It teaches us how to grow. And the sooner you pay that tuition, the sooner the profits will come. Today, many startups fail once or twice before they succeed. An online seller may lose money at first, but learns how to advertise effectively. An investor may face losses, but through that pain, they learn the rhythm of the market and gain lasting wealth. Failure is like a freshly plowed field. It looks messy at first, but that soft, turned soil is exactly where new seeds can sprout. And once we've paid the tuition, we must take one more step. Analyze our failures so we don't repeat them, and turn them into a map that guides the road ahead. Lesson 25, analyze failure and turn mistakes into a map. Have you noticed how many people keep failing over and over simply because they never stop to ask where they went wrong? Mistakes aren't frightening. What's truly frightening is repeating them. A wise person never lets failure pass by unnoticed. They break it down, look at every detail, and learn from it. Failure is like a map. It shows where we took the wrong turn and where the right path begins. Han once opened a clothing store, but had to close it after 3 months. Instead of blaming anyone, she sat down and wrote out every reason why it failed. High costs, no marketing, and choosing the wrong target customers. The next time she tried, she cut inventory, focused on online sales, and succeeded. A friend asked, "Why did it go so smoothly this time?" She smiled and said, "Because last time I paid tuition. Now I have a map." There were moments when Han felt embarrassed whenever someone mentioned her past failure. But she reminded herself, if failure was an exam, then failing last time was my chance to pass the next one. Only when we dare to look straight at our failures can we find the key to open the next door. In many large companies, after every failed project, They hold a review meeting to analyze what went wrong. That honesty and transparency help them improve instead of repeating mistakes. It's the same for young people. A failed job interview can become valuable experience if they take time to reflect on it. Failure is like a cracked mirror. If you look closely, you can see every flaw clearly and learn how to avoid stepping into the same place again. Once you turn mistakes into a map, you can walk forward with greater confidence. But for failure to truly become fruitful, there's still one more step to take. You must learn to turn pain into inner strength. Lesson 26, turn pain into inner strength. There are failures so painful they take your breath away. But I've come to realize that pain isn't meant to punish us. It's meant to forge our hearts into something stronger. The pain of failure is like fire refining gold. The weak let it burn them down. The strong use it to temper their spirit. Those who can turn pain into motivation gain inner strength. Those who only cry over it remain trapped in their own ashes. Thang, a young athlete, once broke his leg just before a major competition. He was so devastated, he wanted to quit sports altogether. One day his coach told him, "If you see this as the end, you'll forever be the one who used to have a dream. But if you see it as a challenge, you'll become the one who conquered yourself." Thang decided to start training again. 2 years later, he won a medal. There were nights during his heavy training when sweat poured down and he cried out, "Why me?" But at that moment, a voice inside whispered, "If I can overcome this pain, nothing else can ever break me again." He realized that pain is a kind of inner capital. When you turn it into strength, you become richer than gold, because you gain a courage that nothing can defeat. Today, many entrepreneurs, artists, and even ordinary people have faced deep losses. Bankruptcy, losing a job, losing loved ones. But when they turned that pain into drive, they rose stronger than before. That's a power no amount of money can buy. Pain is like a storm. It can uproot a weak tree, but it also helps a strong one dig its roots deeper into the earth. And from that inner strength, we take the next step forward, to keep getting up again and again, because no one ever succeeds after just one try. Lesson 27, keep standing up. True strength comes from many failures. Do you know why a bamboo must grow 100 joints before it becomes a pillar? Or why iron must be burned at 1,000 degrees before it turns to steel? Because strength only comes after many tests. People are the same way. We must fall many times before we truly grow strong. One failure is just an experiment. Many failures make a journey. Successful people are not those who never fall. They are the ones who rise again every time. With each time they stand up, another layer of resilience forms within them. The unification of China under Emperor Qin Shi Huang was the result of decades of war. Before that, the state of Qin had suffered countless defeats and was once mocked by other kingdoms. But by rebuilding again and again after every failure, Qin slowly grew stronger until it finally conquered all 6 states. There were moments when Qin's soldiers doubted and said, "With all these losses, will we ever win?" But their persistence in standing up again, their constant rebuilding and discipline, became the very force that no one could destroy. One failure might be bad luck, but failing many times and still rising again, that is true strength. Today, a startup founder may fail 3 or 4 times before creating a successful product. An author may face a dozen rejections before finally getting published. But it is that persistence that makes them extraordinary. Failure is like the ocean waves. They crash into us again and again. Those who give up will be swept away. Those who keep steering forward will find the shore. And once you've learned how to stand up many times, you'll discover one more secret. You can turn your failures into stories that inspire others, healing yourself in the process and opening the door to new opportunities. Lesson 28, turn failure into an inspiring story. Hua once has started a small coffee shop, but because of inexperience, he had to close it after just 6 months. At first, he was ashamed and couldn't bring himself to talk about it. Later, at a networking event, he spoke honestly. "I failed because I relied too much on luck," he said. "But that fall taught me the importance of managing cash flow." His honesty moved the entire room to applause. Afterward, an investor approached him and said, "I believe in people who have the courage to face their failures. Failure doesn't need to be hidden. It can become a form of emotional capital. When we tell our story truthfully and deeply, failure turns into inspiration, and sometimes even opens new doors." There was a time when Hoa wondered, who would want to hear from someone who failed? But when he saw the empathy in people's eyes, he realized that failure connected him to others more deeply than success ever could. Failure gives us lessons, but it also gives others hope. The belief that falling is okay as long as you get back up. Many successful speakers and authors don't inspire people by bragging about their victories, but by sharing their honest journeys of failure. Entrepreneurs who once went bankrupt, athletes who suffered serious injuries, scientists who failed hundreds of experiments, their stories carry real value, drawing communities together and even creating new opportunities. Failure is like a scar on the body. If you hide it, it remains a wound. If you show it, it becomes a medal, proof that you once fought bravely. But for a story of failure to truly matter, there's still one final ingredient. You must know when to stop, to step back wisely and prepare for a stronger comeback. Lesson 29, retreat wisely. Today's failure can be tomorrow's opportunity. A general once went into battle and, seeing his army too weak, decided to retreat. To some, it seemed like shame, but to a wise commander, it was a way to preserve his forces for tomorrow's victory. Failure doesn't always mean fighting to the very end. Sometimes knowing when to stop is the smartest strategy. The wise see retreat not as surrender, but as preparation for a stronger, more sustainable comeback. Han Xin, one of the greatest generals of the Han Dynasty, chose many times to endure humiliation while waiting for the right moment. When opportunities hadn't yet arrived, he stayed in the shadows. Because he knew when to step back, he preserved his life and his wisdom, and later became one of history's most legendary commanders. People mocked him, saying, "How can a man who endures humiliation still call himself a hero?" But Han Xin reminded himself, "A hero is not someone who wins a small battle, but the one who saves strength for the greater war." Knowing when to retreat is a form of wisdom. Failure isn't necessarily a loss. It can be a step back to gain the momentum for a longer leap forward. In business, sometimes a project must end early to avoid total loss, so resources can be redirected towards something better. In life, some arguments are best left behind to preserve peace, rather than winning a small fight and losing a whole relationship. Failure is like a wave. If you know how to step aside when it crashes, you can protect your boat and sail again another day. And when you learn that, failure is no longer the end. It becomes valuable capital for the future. Once we master the art of turning failure into future gain, we can move into the next journey, transforming creativity and ideas into new sources of wealth. Lesson 30, ideas are untapped gold mines. Have you ever thought that the greatest wealth of a person is not the gold and silver in a safe, but the ideas in their mind? Ideas are invisible gold mines. Every invention, every creation once began as a fleeting thought. Wise people never dismiss small ideas. Sometimes a single spark in the mind can change an entire destiny. During the Eastern Han Dynasty, Kailan noticed that people were still writing on bamboo slips, heavy, costly, and inconvenient. He had the idea of making paper from tree bark and old cloth, ground into pulp. People laughed at him and said, "What nonsense! How could anyone write on that?" But he persisted and eventually created paper, an invention that transformed human civilization and opened the door to knowledge and prosperity for generations to come. There were times when Kailan felt discouraged, especially after failed experiments and ridicule. But he kept believing, if there's a spark of light in my mind, the world will find a way for it to shine. An idea is not a toy. It's raw treasure waiting to be refined. When we value it and dare to test it, we can turn it into pure gold. Today, many tech billionaires started with just a single idea. An app, a platform, a simple solution. Young people who take notes, experiment, and nurture their ideas can turn them into products, into companies, and into new opportunities. An idea is like a spark in the night. If you fan it the right way, it becomes a torch that lights your path. But ideas only gain value when they are cultivated. That's why the next step is to dare to experiment and turn your ideas into reality. Lesson 31, experiment. Turning ideas into real assets. Lan, a young woman, once had an idea to sell healthy food online. Her friend said, "Everyone has ideas. The hard part is actually doing it." Lan smiled and replied, "Then let's try." She started cooking, taking photos and posting them online. At first, she got only a few orders, but little by little, it grew into a small brand. An idea has no value if it stays in your head. Experimenting is what turns the invisible into the visible. It doesn't have to be perfect right away. Just start. Every attempt is a lesson, each one bringing you closer to success. Lan once burned an entire batch of cakes, and customers complained, "Your photos look terrible." She was so discouraged that she wanted to quit, but then she remembered her own words and tried again. This time, she learned to take better photos and cook better meals. Gradually, from a vague idea, she built a stable source of income. There were moments she asked herself, "Am I wasting my time?" But when she saw her orders steadily increasing, she realized that experimenting is the only way to prove an idea's worth. She learned that creativity doesn't stop at thinking. It must be tested to become a real asset. Today, many startups follow the MVP principle, creating a small test version of a product before developing it further. That willingness to experiment helps them save costs and find the right direction. Young people can do the same. Trying out writing, painting, or small businesses is a way to plant the seeds of creativity. An idea is like a seed. If you keep it in your pocket, it will rot. If you plant it and try, it has a chance to grow into a tree. And from those first experiments, there's one more step ahead. To dare to take calculated risks, because creativity always walks hand in hand with courage. Lesson 32, embrace risk. Creativity always comes with a price. A tightrope walker always risks falling, but it's that very rope that takes them to places others can never reach. Creativity works the same way. Without risk, there is no breakthrough. Every act of creation carries danger with it. The wise don't avoid risk. They learn to manage it. Accepting risk is the price ideas must pay to be born and to grow. During the Ming Dynasty, Zheng He sailed across the seas 7 times. Each voyage faced storms, disease, and the very real chance of death. Yet by daring to take those risks, he opened vast new trade routes and brought great wealth to his country. If he had stayed home out of fear, the map of the world would have remained smaller forever. Once, when his ship was caught in a fierce storm, his crew panicked. Zheng He thought to himself, maybe this is the end. But then he whispered, if I don't sail through the storm, I'll remain forever in a pond, never reaching the ocean. That belief kept him steady. He understood that risk is not an enemy, but a doorway to new horizons. Today, many technology companies invest millions of dollars in projects that might fail. But it's that willingness to take risks that allows them to stay ahead of the market. Young people too must learn this. To try new careers, to start small ventures, to accept risk as the price of gaining experience. Creativity is like lighting a firework. If you fear the flame and never light it, you'll never see the light. But embracing risk doesn't mean being reckless. For creativity to become true wealth, we must keep improving, sharpening our ideas until they shine with precision and strength. Lesson 33, continuous improvement, keeping creativity alive. A small bakery once sold only a few simple kinds of cakes. Over time, customers stopped coming. The owner thought to himself, if I don't change, I'll have to close this place soon. So he began creating new flavors and decorating his cakes in creative, eye-catching ways. Before long, the shop was bustling again. Creativity isn't a single spark that fades away. It's a constant flow. Without improvement, even the best idea will quickly grow old. Wise people know how to keep creativity alive through continuous improvement. The bakery owner once complained, why don't customers come back anymore? A friend gently told him, no one wants to eat the same thing forever. Try giving them something new. He took the advice and started improving little by little. And thanks to that, customers kept returning. There were times he felt tired and wondered, am I changing too much? But every time he saw customers excited again, he realized that continuous improvement was the secret to keeping creativity alive. Creativity isn't just about creating something new. It's about keeping the new always relevant. Those who keep improving turn creativity into a steady stream of profit. Big brands release new versions of their products all the time, not because the old ones are bad, but because the market never stops changing. Freelancers are the same way. They must keep updating their skills and refreshing their services. That's how creativity becomes an endless source of value. Creativity is like a river. If it stops flowing, it becomes a stagnant pond. If it keeps moving, it nourishes both banks with fertile soil. And through that spirit of improvement, we discover something greater. Creativity is not only for survival. It can become a unique brand, an invisible asset that brings lasting wealth. Lesson 34, turn creativity into a unique brand. A single flame can light up a small room, But when turned into a torch, it can guide an entire crowd through the dark. Creativity works the same way. Only when it becomes a brand can it shine long and bright. Personal creativity may bring short-term rewards, but a brand carries value that lasts. Wise people don't just create ideas. They attach those ideas to their own names so that when people hear it, they instantly remember who they are. Tuan, a young painter, used to sell his artworks one by one without a clear identity. One day he thought, what if I create my own signature style so every painting has something people can recognize? He began signing each piece and using a distinct shade of blue. A few years later, his paintings became known as the Tuan Blue Collection, sought after not only for their beauty, but because they had become a recognizable brand. At first, people laughed at him. Who's going to remember your name, they said. But Tuan believed, if I don't build my own identity, I'll always remain a tool for someone else's success. He understood that creativity only becomes a true asset when it carries a name, when its value is tied to its creator, and when it can't be easily replaced. Today, a startup succeeds not only because of a great product, but because of a strong brand. An artist thrives on creativity, but lives on the strength of their brand. A brand is the armor that helps creativity survive in a competitive world. Creativity without a brand is like a gem lost in the sand, easily overlooked. Creativity with a brand is a gem engraved with a name, instantly recognizable to everyone. And once creativity becomes a brand, it can be reused, expanded, and multiplied, turning into a lasting source of income. That is the true power of transforming creativity into a sustainable asset. Lesson 35, turning creativity into lasting wealth. Long ago, a man named Bian, he presented a jade stone to the king. At first, the king thought it was just an ordinary rock and ordered him to be punished. But once the stone was cut and polished, its brilliance was revealed, and it became a national treasure. Creativity is just like that. If it remains raw, it has no real value. It must be refined, structured, and cultivated to become a sustainable asset. Creativity only lasts a day if there's no system to nurture it. Wise people don't let their creative sparks fade away. They record, develop, and reuse them, turning ideas into long-term income. Mai, a designer, once created many beautiful designs, but after selling each piece, it was gone forever. One day she thought, what if I copyright my designs and turn them into a permanent collection? Then people can buy them again and again. She did exactly that, turning her creativity into commercial property. Her income became more stable than ever. At times she regretted, so many of my past ideas were wasted. But she realized, from now on, every creative work can be preserved and turned into a lasting asset. Creativity is not just a fleeting spark. It's an asset that must be protected, managed, and utilized. When we do that, we build a treasure that can last a lifetime. Today, copyrights, brands, and patents are how we transform creativity into sustainable wealth. A song, a design, a technology, when protected and managed properly, can support its creator for years to come. Creativity is like electricity. Without a battery to store it, it flashes for a moment and disappears. With a system to hold it, it can light up an entire city. And once we learn how to keep creativity alive, we discover a deeper truth. Wealth doesn't come only from ideas or tools. It also comes from recognizing opportunities before others see them. That's where the next journey begins. Learning to turn opportunity into profit, mastering the art of seizing and shaping the golden moments of life. Creativity, when nurtured, refined, and protected, becomes a sustainable form of capital. It starts as a trickle of water, then grows into a flowing stream that nourishes entire fields. But no matter how valuable creativity becomes, it still needs one final catalyst to multiply: opportunity. In life, many complain about lacking luck, but opportunities are never scarce. The difference lies here. Ordinary people overlook them, while the wise recognize them early and act when others hesitate. Opportunity is a door, but no sign will ever read, "This is your chance." Only those with sharp eyes, patient hearts, and steady preparation will see it and step through. So after transforming yourself, your time, knowledge, relationships, failures, and creativity into capital, we now move on to the next path, turning opportunity into profit and mastering the art of capturing life's most golden moments. Lesson 36, prepare so opportunity doesn't pass you by. Once Zeng Guofan told his students, Opportunity is like an honored guest coming to visit. If your house isn't ready, the guest will simply leave. One student asked in surprise, "Teacher, shouldn't we prepare after the opportunity arrives?" Zeng Guofan shook his head gently. "If you wait until then, it's already too late. Opportunity never announces its arrival. The wise don't wait for it to appear before preparing. They prepare so that when it comes, they are already ready." Preparation is how we turn opportunity into profit instead of regret. Bin loved photography. He practiced shooting and editing every day, even when no one hired him. One day, a friend invited him to try shooting a wedding. The results amazed everyone. And from then on, he received a wave of new clients. People said, "Wow, you got lucky." He just smiled and replied, "Luck only visits those who are prepared." There were times when Ben asked himself, "Am I wasting time learning something I don't even use yet?" But when the opportunity finally came, he realized that without preparation, even the best opportunity is useless. Preparation is like depositing capital into your future bank. When opportunity arrives, that capital begins earning interest right away. In business, companies with well-prepared teams always gain the upper hand when the market shifts. In life, young people who learn new skills before they're needed will be the ones chosen when opportunity knocks. Opportunity is like rain. Those who already have fields ready will harvest a rich crop. Those who don't will only get wet. But preparation alone is not enough. We also need a sharp eye to recognize opportunity hidden in ordinary moments while it's still disguised. Lesson 37, recognizing opportunity before it calls your name. How many times in your life have you said, "If only I had seen it sooner"? The problem isn't that opportunities are rare, it's that our eyes aren't yet trained to notice them. Opportunities often arrive looking ordinary, small, scattered, even disguised as problems. The wise have eyes that can see beyond the surface. They notice the green sprout hidden among tall grass. Thao, an office worker, heard many parents complain about the lack of childcare. Instead of joining their frustration, she thought, maybe this is an opportunity. She started a small home daycare, which later grew into a full childcare center. People asked her, "How did you spot what others didn't?" Thao smiled and said, "The opportunity was always there. Most people just never noticed it." There were nights when Thao wondered, am I just imagining things? But when more and more parents began bringing their children, she realized something profound. Opportunities are everywhere if you're sharp enough to recognize them. Opportunity isn't magic. It's simply a need waiting for someone to solve it. Many successful entrepreneurs got ahead because they saw what others ignored. Ride sharing, food delivery, online learning. These needs existed long before. The ones who noticed first became rich. The ones who waited became their customers. Opportunity is like gold buried in the dirt. Most people only see the mud. The wise see the faint sparkle beneath it. And once you recognize opportunity, there's one more step that matters most. Have the courage to act quickly before it slips into someone else's hands. Lesson 38, act fast before opportunity slips away. One day, Min saw an ad for a piece of land being sold at a surprisingly low price. His friends advised him, wait a few months before buying. There's no rush. But Min decided to make a deposit immediately after carefully checking that all the documents were legal. A few years later, a major road was built through the area, and the land's value increased tenfold. His friends could only sigh in regret. If only we had bought it back then. Min simply smiled and said, opportunity doesn't wait for anyone. Opportunities pass by quickly. The wise don't just recognize them, they dare to act on them. Hesitation can turn gold into dust. Many people see opportunities clearly, but hesitate until they disappear. While others take action, they're still thinking. And by the time they decide, the chance has already moved on. The truth is, opportunity only opens its door to those who knock at the right moment. Min once hesitated and thought, what if I lose money? But then he told himself, if the opportunity is real and I don't try, I'll lose for sure. If I try, at least I still have a chance. He learned that acting fast isn't recklessness. It's readiness combined with sharp instinct. Today, those who move first, in technology, fashion, or investment, are often the ones who grow wealthy. Those who delay become customers, never owners. Opportunity is like a departing train. If you stand still, it leaves the station. Only those who step aboard in time will go far. But not every opportunity is worth chasing. That's why the wise learn to see clearly, to choose the right ones instead of running after them all. Lesson 39, choose your opportunities wisely. Not everything that glitters is gold. Have you ever chased an opportunity only to realize later that it was a trap? Not every opportunity is real. Some are illusions, some are snares disguised as success. The wise don't chase every shining thing. They choose only what truly fits them. The right opportunity lifts you higher. The wrong one can bury you deep. During the Three Kingdoms era, Liu Bei was once invited to take the throne. Even though his foundation was not yet stable, he refused and said, "The time isn't right. If I grab too soon, I'll lose everything later." Because he waited patiently for the right moment, he was able to build the kingdom of Shu and earn the trust of his people. There were times Liu Bei hesitated and wondered, what if the chance never comes again? But he believed one truth. An opportunity that comes too early isn't a blessing. It's a sweet trap. A true opportunity isn't the flashy one that dazzles the eye. It's the one that aligns with your ability, timing, and direction. Today, many rush blindly into investments after hearing promises of quick wealth, only to lose everything. The wise only choose opportunities they are prepared for, with enough knowledge, skill, and capital to handle them. Opportunity is like fruit. Some look shiny but rot inside. Others may appear rough but are sweet and full of life. And once you've learned to choose the right opportunities, the next step is to nurture them, helping them grow instead of stopping at the beginning. Dear friends, before we continue our journey, if these words have warmed your heart, please leave a comment below. A single like or share might become the light that reaches someone who needs it. We invite you to stay with us as we continue this journey ahead. Lesson 40, nurture your opportunities. A seed takes 100 days to sprout. No seed can grow into a tree overnight. It needs sunlight, water, and time. Opportunity is just the same. Catching it is only the beginning, but nurturing it is what makes it flourish. An opportunity is the starting point, not the final result. The wise treat opportunity like a seed. It must be planted, cared for, and improved before it can grow into a fruitful tree. If you don't tend to it, it will dry up like a forgotten seed in the soil. Hua opened a restaurant in a perfect location. At first, customers came in crowds. Friends congratulated him, saying, "What an amazing opportunity. You're going to be rich." But only a few months later, customers stopped coming because the menu never changed. Hua was shocked and realized he had captured an opportunity, but never nurtured it. He began to improve the dishes and service, and soon the restaurant was busy again. There were times he felt disappointed and said, "The opportunity was in my hands, yet I let it slip away. It's my fault." That moment taught him something precious. An opportunity is just a seed. Without care, it will never grow. He came to understand that people don't fail because they lack opportunities, but because they don't know how to nurture them into lasting success. Many startups begin with great potential, but collapse because they fail to develop their products or retain customers. Meanwhile, big companies that nurture every small opportunity end up building empires. Young people are the same. A small internship, a side job, or a skill learned early, if nurtured, can become a lifelong career. Opportunity is like a tiny spark. If you don't feed it, it dies out. If you tend to it with care, it grows into a flame that warms the whole house. But nurturing alone is not enough. We must also learn to multiply opportunities, turning one into many so that success never stops growing. Lesson 41, multiply opportunities, turning one into many. During the Han Dynasty, a farmer discovered that a patch of land near the river yielded exceptionally high crops. Instead of keeping the secret to himself, he expanded the opportunity by renting more fields, teaching others his farming methods, and then buying their surplus rice to trade. From one small opportunity, he built a thriving enterprise. Opportunities aren't meant to be hoarded. The wise know how to multiply them, turning one into many. That's how a single success becomes an entire system, and one simple chance turns into a stream of lasting income. Vi started with a small online cosmetics shop. When her sales grew, she opened new channels and hired collaborators. From one small beginning, she created a full distribution network. People often asked, "Why don't you stop now and just relax?" Vi smiled and said, "A small opportunity only lasts if you multiply it." There were moments she worried, what if expanding leads to losses? But she reminded herself, multiplying doesn't mean reckless growth. It means replicating what already works. Opportunity is like a fruit tree. If you know how to graft it, one tree can grow into an entire orchard. Today, many global brands began with just a single product, then multiplied that success into an empire. Young people can do the same. A single skill can branch into countless opportunities. Teaching, writing, or creating online courses. Opportunity is like a flame. One spark can ignite 1,000 others without ever burning out. And once you've learned how to multiply opportunity, there's another step ahead. Protecting it from being taken by others so that the success you built doesn't fade away. Opportunity is a doorway, but if you walk through it empty-handed, you can't hold on to its rewards for long. A single lucky deal may bring short-term gain, but only skill creates lasting wealth. People often think fortune brings success, but in truth, opportunity only favors those who already have ability. Just like a swordsman, without thousands of hours of practice, even the finest blade won't win him a battle. But a skilled warrior with just a bamboo stick can still prevail. So after learning to recognize, nurture, and expand opportunities, the next journey begins. Learning how to turn skill into income. Because skill is the kind of wealth no one can steal. The more you sharpen it, the brighter and more valuable it becomes. Lesson 42, skills the currency that never loses value. Money can lose its worth to inflation or market swings, but skills only grow more valuable the more you use them. The wise understand that skill is the truest form of currency, something no one can ever steal. Unlike material possessions, skills don't fade with time. They live in your mind, your hands, and your heart. A single good skill can sustain you for a lifetime. And when you combine multiple skills, you open doors to endless streams of income. Dung once lost his job after his company went bankrupt. His friends panicked, but he stayed calm. Besides his office work, he had learned how to repair computers. Within a month, he started his own repair service, and soon customers began to line up. Someone asked him, "Aren't you worried?" He smiled and said, "Money can be lost, but skill never loses its value." There were nights when Dung sat alone and wondered, with only 2 hands, can I really support my family? But every time a customer thanked him, he felt a deep truth. Skill is the kind of capital that never betrays its owner. He came to realize those who have skills never truly fear being broke, because skill is immortal currency. Today, people change jobs and industries all the time. Yet the skills they built still carry them forward. Someone who can speak another language, code, design, or present well can earn a living anywhere. Skill is like a spring. Even if storms wash away your possessions, the water keeps flowing, nourishing you again and again. But having a skill isn't enough. The key is to refine it, to master it until it becomes priceless capital that keeps generating value for years to come. Lesson 43. Master one skill, a lifetime asset to pass on. Lubue once met a man who was skilled only at playing the zither. People mocked him, saying, "How can you live your life knowing just one thing?" But when he played, the sound moved hearts so deeply that even the king honored him. That man lived comfortably, sustained by a single skill. A skill, if only half learned, has little value. But when mastered, it becomes an asset beyond measure. The wise don't try to know everything superficially. They devote their focus to one core skill, turning it into their personal signature, their lifelong brand, and love baking. At first, she learned just to cook for her family, but she kept practicing until each cake she made carried her unique touch. Customers didn't come because her cakes were cheap. They came because her creations had soul. Friends would tease her saying, "You think baking alone can make you rich?" And simply smiled and said, "One mastered skill can feed you for a lifetime." There were times she doubted herself, thinking, "People keep changing jobs while I'm still here with flour and ovens. Am I being left behind?" But the loyalty of her customers reminded her that mastery is true power. A master's skill brings not only income, but also confidence, respect, and a place in the world. In this modern age, a great programmer, a skilled doctor, or a talented creator can all live with abundance. The world needs experts, not people who only know a little about everything. A mastered skill is like a diamond. The more it's polished, the brighter it shines, and the longer it's kept, the more valuable it becomes. And once you've mastered one skill, the next step is to combine it with another to create rare and extraordinary value that few can match. Lesson 44, combining skills, creating a rare advantage. What makes one person stand out among hundreds in the same field? It's not just mastering a single skill, but knowing how to combine one skill with another to create a unique advantage. A single mastered skill is already valuable, but when you connect two or three together, your worth multiplies many times over. The wise don't just go deep in one area. They skillfully combine abilities to become a one-of-a-kind version of themselves. Long was a talented designer, but clients were few. Then he decided to learn copywriting and communication. Soon he wasn't just someone who could design beautifully. He could also sell ideas and persuade clients. Companies started seeking him out, not just as a designer, but as someone who could turn ideas into profit. Friends asked, "Why do clients pick you over other great designers?" Long simply smiled. He knew it was because he had a combination others didn't. There were times he doubted himself, wondering, am I taking on too much? But as he saw clients coming back again and again, he realized that his uniqueness came from the blend itself. He learned that true competitive advantage doesn't lie in a single skill, but in the harmony that creates something rare in the market. A doctor who communicates well will always have a full clinic. A programmer who understands marketing can start a business of their own. A teacher who knows social media can reach thousands of students worldwide. Skills are like musical instruments. Someone who plays one beautifully is already remarkable. But when they can add drums, flute, and voice, they create an orchestra. Yet no matter how many skills you have, if you don't know how to turn them into real-world value, your talents will stay hidden behind closed doors. Lesson 45, bringing your skills to the market, turning work into income. Hai was a talented cook, but he only cooked for his family. One day his friend said, "This is delicious. Why don't you sell it?" At first he hesitated. Cooking for family is one thing, he said, but selling food is another. Still, he decided to try. He opened a small food cart, and to his surprise, customers kept coming back. A skill that once only served his family had now become a steady source of income. A skill used just for fun as a hobby, but when you bring it to the market, it becomes a way to earn. The wise understand that skills must be tested in the real world, where needs and competition exist, to truly turn them into a stream of income. Hai once worried, "I'm not good enough to sell," but customers didn't need a famous chef. They just wanted good food that stayed consistent. By daring to bring his skill to the market, he built his own small brand. There were days when business was slow. He would sigh and wonder, did I make the wrong choice? But then he remembered the smiles of satisfied customers, and he knew that persistence would help his skill find its place. He realized one thing, a skill only gains real value when it meets the needs of society. Today, many people turn skills into professions. Those who can film videos become freelancers. Those who can teach languages open online classes. Those who can write become content creators. It all begins with a single skill and grows through the power of the market. A skill is like a pearl. If you keep it hidden in a box, it shines for no one. But when you bring it into the light, its beauty truly glows. And once your skill is out in the world, the key is to keep learning and upgrading it, so it continues to shine in every new era. Lesson 46, keep learning, upgrading your skills for a changing world. A skill that's valuable today, will it still hold the same worth 10 years from now? The world changes fast, and any skill that isn't updated quickly becomes outdated. The wise never grow complacent. They see continuous learning as the way to upgrade their most precious capital. A skill is like software. It needs regular updates to run smoothly. Fuck was once a well-known wedding photographer. But when smartphones took over, many clients started taking their own photos. If he had stuck to his old ways, he would have soon been out of work. Instead, he learned video editing, color grading, and how to fly a drone. Thanks to that, his business not only survived, but thrived. Friends asked, "Don't you get tired of always learning?" He smiled and said, "Of course I do. But if I stop learning, I lose my craft." There were moments when he grew weary. I'm already good enough, he thought. Why keep studying? But when he looked around and saw his peers slowly disappearing from the market, he understood. Stopping learning is the same as letting your skills die. We don't learn just to survive. We learn to keep our skills valuable, always in demand, never outdated. Today, technology changes every month. People in IT, marketing, and medicine must constantly update their knowledge to stay relevant. Young people who keep learning turn their skills into lifelong assets, never afraid of being replaced. A skill is like a sword. If you don't sharpen it, it rusts. If you keep honing it, it becomes razor sharp. But learning alone isn't enough. To truly turn skill into wealth, we must also share and teach what we know, transforming knowledge itself into a new source of income. Lesson 47, sharing your skills. Knowledge multiplies when given away. Confucius once said, "Learn for yourself, teach for the world." He traveled far and wide to share his teachings. His students became successful across the land. Had he kept his knowledge to himself, he might have remained just a scholar. But by sharing it, he became a teacher for all generations. When we share our skills, we don't lose them. They multiply. The wise understand that teaching others is one of the best ways to strengthen yourself. Today, sharing can even become a meaningful source of income. Huang was an accountant. Outside her day job, she started an online channel to share her knowledge about finance. At first, only a few dozen people watched. Soon, thousands followed. From her courses, she earned extra income and built a strong professional reputation. People around her were surprised. "Why share your secrets?" they asked. She smiled and said, "The more I give, the more I receive." There were moments of doubt. If I share everything, will I lose my advantage? She wondered. But she realized that the more she shared, the more people knew her, and the more opportunities came her way. A skill used only for yourself is just a tool. But when you share it, it becomes a legacy, a limitless source of value and income. Today, many turn their skills into products. Online courses, books, videos, podcasts. Knowledge becomes a product. Skill becomes a personal brand. A skill is like a candle. When it lights 100 others, its own flame doesn't fade. It only shines brighter. And so skill doesn't just feed us. It creates light for others and value for the whole community. Once you've turned skill into income, the next step is learning how to use your most precious resource, time, to build even greater wealth. Lesson 48, turning small habits into big dividends. Lasting wealth doesn't come from one big win. It comes from the quiet dividends that grow a little each day. Those small habits we stay loyal to. Habits are like slow money printers, creating compound interest bit by bit until one day the pile becomes a mountain. The wise focus on being just 1% better each day. That 1% multiplied over time becomes a fortune of value. Lion, a saleswoman, promised herself to spend 15 minutes a day learning copywriting. Her friends teased her. "What can 15 minutes do?" Lian smiled. "Let time be the judge." 3 months later, she landed her first freelance project. A year later, her side income surpassed her main salary. Some nights, exhausted, she wanted to skip her routine. But she reminded herself, miss one day and the chain breaks. So she sat down and wrote another 200 words. The next day, a new client reached out. Like a quiet reward for her persistence, she realized something profound. Small habits don't shout for attention, but they quietly build profit. They're like dividends that flow in steadily, even when you're not watching. The formula is simple. Read 10 pages a day, exercise for 10 minutes, write 200 words. Use a streak tracker to keep count and reward yourself when you reach a milestone. After 90 days, the habit starts running on its own, and the benefits begin to multiply. A habit is like a drop of water falling on stone. Each drop seems weightless, but over time, it carves a path through rock. And to keep those habit dividends flowing, there's one more secret. Design your environment so the habit happens automatically, without relying only on willpower. Lesson 49, designing your environment. Automating discipline through habits. Willpower is expensive. The right environment is cheap. When you arrange your surroundings wisely, habits switch on like a light. The brain always takes the path of least resistance. So make bad habits harder and good habits easier. That's how you turn discipline into default. Tuan wanted to practice guitar for 20 minutes every night, but he kept forgetting. His wife suggested, "Why don't you put the guitar next to your desk with the songbook open?" He tried it. He placed the guitar within arm's reach and set a reminder for 8:30 p.m. Every evening when he sat down, his hand naturally reached for the strings. After a month, he could play even the hard pieces with ease. Some nights he felt lazy. "I'll just practice tomorrow," he thought. But the guitar sitting right beside him looked at him like a silent reminder. He picked it up, strummed a few chords, and before he knew it, 20 minutes had passed. He realized something. It's not that I lack discipline, it's that my old environment was working against me. Change the setting and the habit flows naturally. Want to read? Place a book on your pillow or keep your reading app on your home screen. Want to eat healthy? Wash your cutting board in advance. Portion your meals and keep snacks out of sight. Want to write? Prepare a template, fix a writing hour, and silence notifications for 45 minutes. Want to study? Pair it with making tea and start your lesson for just 10 minutes. The environment is like a water channel. Shape it right and the water will find its way to the field on its own. Once the environment is in place, your habits still need a tracking system and rewards to keep the fire alive. That will be the next layer in our journey of building lasting habits. Lesson 50, measuring and rewarding, keeping the fire of habit alive. Lan wanted to start running every morning. The first week was full of excitement. By the second week, her motivation began to fade. A friend suggested, download an app to track your distance and treat yourself to a nice coffee at the end of the week. Lan followed the advice. Seeing her kilometers increase each day and having a small reward waiting, she felt inspired to keep going. Habits need two things, proof of progress and a sense of joy. Measurement gives proof. Rewards give motivation. The wise maintain habits with both logic and emotion. Some mornings, Lan overslept and thought about skipping her run. But when she looked at her app, she saw her streak was about to hit 30 days. She told herself, I can't break the chain. So she put on her shoes and ran 2 kilometers just to keep the habit alive. On a rainy morning, Lan stood at the door debating, maybe I'll just rest today. But the thought of losing her 29-day streak made her grab an umbrella and step out into the rain. She realized measurement and reward turn habits from something I have to do into something I want to do. You can measure your progress with a tracking app, a journal, or a chart. And you can reward yourself with small joys. A good cup of coffee, a movie night, a little gift, or by joining a 30-day challenge group for extra motivation. A habit is like a campfire. Measurement is the thermometer, reward is the new piece of wood. With both, the fire keeps glowing. But to make a habit pay lifelong dividends, you need one final step, to tie it to your identity, turning each small action into part of who you are. Lesson 51, aligning habits with identity when actions become who you are. Do you want to practice writing regularly, or do you want to become a writer? Do you want to read more books, or do you want to become a reader? Short-term habits break easily, but when tied to your identity, they become unshakable. The wise don't just do something, they become someone who does it naturally. When that happens, abandoning the habit feels like betraying yourself. Nam tried going to the gym many times, but always quit halfway. His trainer told him, stop thinking you're trying to work out. Start thinking you're a healthy person, and working out is just what healthy people do. Nam changed his mindset. From then on, exercise stopped feeling like a chore and started feeling like part of who he was. One rainy day, he felt like skipping the gym. But looking in the mirror, he told himself, a healthy person doesn't give up because of rain. So he went. He realized the strongest habits don't depend on willpower, they depend on identity. Change your language. I'm trying to quit smoking becomes, I'm not a smoker. I'm trying to read more becomes, I'm a person who reads every day. When identity shifts, behavior follows naturally. A habit is like a shirt. If you're only trying it on, it's easy to take off. But if it's your uniform, you wear it every day without even thinking. And to make the journey of habit building more joyful, there's one more step ahead. Finding companions and turning personal habits into collective strength. Lesson 52, companions, keeping the fire of habit burning strong. Hang wanted to wake up early to read every morning, but she kept hitting snooze. One day she asked a coworker, "How about we do a 30-day challenge? Wake up at 6, and each morning we send each other a photo of the book we're reading." Her coworker agreed. Whenever Hang felt lazy and thought, "Maybe tomorrow," her phone buzzed. "I'm up already. Where are you?" And just like that, she jumped out of bed. Personal habits break easily, but with a companion, motivation and accountability grow stronger. When we see others persist, we hesitate to quit. That shared energy keeps the flame of habit alive. Some mornings, Hang was exhausted and tempted to sleep in. But remembering that her coworker was waiting for her photo, she got up, read a few pages, and sent it over. Soon, waking up early no longer felt difficult. At one point, she wondered, "Am I weak for needing someone to keep me going?" But then she understood. Humans are social beings. The power of community turns effort into rhythm and discipline into lifestyle. She realized something beautiful. A companion doesn't just help maintain the habit, they turn a hard journey into shared memories. Today, countless 21-day and 90-day challenges online help people stay consistent together. With teammates, discipline becomes joy. A habit is like climbing a mountain. Alone, it's easy to tire out. With friends, every step feels lighter and warmer. But companions are not the final key. To make a habit pay lifelong dividends, you must tie it to a deeper purpose, so that even in hardship, you keep moving forward. Lesson 53, a greater purpose, the soul of habit. A lamp can only burn long when it has oil. Habits are the same. Willpower is the flame, but meaning is the oil that keeps it alive. A habit should not exist just for the sake of routine. It must connect to something higher. The wise always place their habits inside a larger picture. Exercise to stay healthy for your family. Read to expand your mind and serve others. When your why is big enough, you can overcome any how. During the Warring States period, a general named Ngo Khoi trained rigorously every morning. Someone once asked, "Aren't you tired of all this?" He answered, "I don't train for myself. I train for my soldiers. If I grow weak, who will lead by example?" That purpose gave him the strength to endure, and in time he became one of the most respected generals in history. There were nights when Ngo Khoi was so exhausted he wanted to stop. But when he remembered the thousands of soldiers depending on him, he pushed himself forward once more. He understood, only a great purpose can keep a habit alive through boredom, fatigue, and pain. Even today, a mother working extra hours doesn't do it for fun, but for her children. A young person studying a foreign language does it for a dream of studying abroad. When your reason is big enough, every hardship feels smaller. A habit without purpose is like a drifting boat. A habit with meaning is like a boat with sails. No matter where the wind blows, it finds its way home. Then a habit is no longer just a routine, but a steady stream of lifelong dividends, quietly nurturing lasting wealth. But life isn't always calm. Storms will come, leaving behind deep wounds and scars. Pain, loss, failure, betrayal. They seem like thieves, but to the wise, they are priceless assets. The scars of the heart forge inner strength. Just as steel hardens only after fire, people grow stronger only after pain. And when transformed, pain does not destroy. It becomes the power that creates. Lesson 54, pain. The furnace that forges gold in the soul. No one wants pain, but without it, no one truly grows. Gold that never faces fire remains just ore. A person who never faces hardship rarely becomes great. Pain is life's harshest test. The weak see it as the end. The strong see it as the beginning. Wisdom lies in rising again, turning pain itself into the material that shapes your strength. Sima Qian, the great historian of China, once suffered the humiliation of castration for defending General Li Ling. In despair, he wrote, "I endure this shame not to survive, but to complete the records of the grand historian for generations to come." That pain became his willpower, fueling him to write one of history's greatest masterpieces, a timeless gift to humankind. There were moments when he wanted to end his life, but he thought, if I die, this pain ends in disgrace. If I live, it will become a torch that lights the way for those after me. Sima Qian understood something profound. Pain can destroy a person, but it can also create greatness. It depends on the choice you make. In today's world, many who have suffered accidents, illness, or heartbreak have turned pain into power. They build charities, start businesses that help others, and create value for society. Pain is like a burning coal. If you drop it, it burns you. If you hold it and refine it, it turns into a gem. And the first step to turning pain into strength is the courage to face it instead of running away. Lesson 55, Facing Pain. The first step toward transformation. Mai lost her job after 10 years of dedication. On the first day, she sat alone in her room and cried for hours. A friend came to visit and said, "If you keep hiding, the pain will never leave. Face it and you'll find your way forward." Mai listened. She began to write down everything she felt, acknowledging the truth that she was unemployed. From that moment, she started searching for new opportunities. Pain doesn't disappear when we avoid it. It only sinks deeper, waiting to return even stronger. Only when we face it do we begin to take back control and start the process of healing. Mai trembled the first time she sent out a new resume. She feared people would laugh and say she got fired. But when she dared to send it, she received interview invitations and soon found a job even better than before. The first night she wrote the words, "I am unemployed." Her chest tightened. Is this the end? She wondered. Yet that moment marked the beginning of an entirely new chapter. She realized something profound. Facing pain is the very first step to turning it into strength. Today, therapy, journaling, and talking with someone you trust are powerful ways to face your pain. Once you dare to name it, it no longer controls you. Pain is like darkness. When you hide, the shadows grow heavier. When you light a lamp, the path appears. Facing it is the beginning. The next step is learning to turn pain into lessons, the kind no classroom could ever teach. Lesson 56, Learning from Pain, the priceless lessons no school can teach. Have you ever noticed that the things you remember most deeply don't come from books, but from the moments you stumbled, lost, or hurt the most? Pain is the harshest teacher, but also the most devoted one. Every wound leaves behind a lesson worth more than 1,000 classroom hours. The wise don't just endure pain, they sit down and learn from it. Quan once made a bad investment and lost nearly all his savings. His friends told him, "Forget it, don't think about it anymore." But Quan wrote down every wrong decision, analyzing where he went off track. A year later, those lessons helped him invest wisely, recovering both his capital and profit. He smiled and said, "If not for that failure, I'd never be this clear-minded today." There were nights he sat in frustration, gripping his head, asking, "How could I be so stupid to lose all that money?" But when he shifted his question from blaming to improving, from "why did I fail" to "where did I go wrong and how can I fix it?" he began to climb out of the mud. He understood then, pain doesn't teach by itself. Only when you sit with it and reflect does it turn into wisdom. A person who fails in love learns how to choose better. A person who loses in business learns how to manage risk. A person who survives illness learns the true value of health. That's the tuition of life, costly yet priceless. Pain is like a pearl. Without the irritation of sand, the shell can never create its shine. But learning alone is not enough. To become truly rich from pain, we must learn to turn it into fuel, transforming loss into the energy that drives us forward. Lesson 57, Turning Pain into the Power to Move Forward. Thang was fired from his job for lacking ability. He was devastated and stayed in bed for days. One afternoon, his little child asked, "Dad, why don't you go to work anymore?" That innocent question woke him up. He decided he would prove to himself and to his child that he could become better. From that day on, he started learning new skills, and within 6 months, he found a job even better than the one he lost. Pain is like a whip. If you only take the beating, you stay bitter. But if you turn it into drive, it pushes you forward. The wise know how to use their wounds as fuel for growth. On his first day back in class, Thang told himself, "I'm not learning to forget the pain. I'm learning to use it as my strength." Whenever he grew tired, he remembered his child's eyes watching him, and new energy returned. There were moments he broke down, whispering, "I can't do this." But the thought of his little one kept him going. He clenched his fists and refused to quit. He came to understand this truth. Pain that's locked inside hardens the heart, but pain that's transformed becomes an engine that drives you farther than before. Many athletes with disabilities have turned their pain into the will to compete, becoming legends. Many entrepreneurs who went bankrupt used humiliation as their reason to rebuild and later achieved even greater success. Pain is like a headwind. It can knock down the weak, but it fills the sails and carries the strong farther out to sea. And the power drawn from pain reaches its highest form when we use it to give, to inspire, and to turn our personal wounds into something that uplifts others. Lesson 58, sharing pain. Turning private wounds into shared strength. There are wounds we once tried to hide, thinking that revealing them would only bring more shame. Yet strangely, when we dare to share, the weight lifts from our hearts, and others find strength in our story too. Sharing pain is a form of transformation. It turns personal suffering into a gift for the community. The wise understand that when we speak our truth out loud, we don't just heal ourselves. We also inspire others to rise. Hua once fell into deep depression after losing her child. At first, she withdrew from everyone, silent and alone. Later, she joined a support group and slowly began telling her story. One young mother took her hand, tears in her eyes, and said, "Thank you. Because of you, I don't feel alone anymore." At that moment, Hoa realized her pain had become someone else's comfort. In the beginning, she trembled, fearing that sharing would only make people pity her. But when she saw the empathy in their eyes, her heart suddenly felt light. Sharing pain doesn't make us weaker. It makes us stronger, because we've turned something deeply personal into something that serves others. Many great speakers aren't admired for boasting about success, but for daring to reveal their scars. They don't just make a living, they build a legacy by turning pain into light for others to follow. Pain is like a half-burned candle. If kept to ourselves, it casts only shadows around us. But when shared, it can ignite 1,000 more flames. And when we've shared our pain, the final step is to accept it and be grateful. For it was that very pain that shaped us into who we are today. Lesson 59, Gratitude for Pain, the Priceless Capital of Life. A field only becomes fertile after enduring storms. And people are the same. They only become truly seasoned after walking through hardship and pain. When we can thank our pain, it turns into priceless capital. The wise never curse adversity. They give thanks for it, because hardship is what forged their strong shoulders, their clear eyes, and their resilient hearts. Guanzhong, the great statesman of Qi, failed many times and was even imprisoned. People once called him incompetent, yet those painful years taught him the depth of human nature and the truths of life. When Duke Huan of Qi finally appointed him, Guanzhong became a legendary chancellor, helping his nation rise to power. He once said, "If I had never suffered humiliation, how could I ever understand the value of success?" In the darkness of prison, he once cried out in bitterness, "Why is fate so unfair to me?" But then he whispered to himself, "This pain is the very capital I will use for tomorrow." He understood that being grateful for pain does not mean loving it, but honoring it as part of our journey, for it is what gave us the strength we have today. Many entrepreneurs, artists, and athletes have all said the same. If not for my failures, I wouldn't be who I am today. Pain is no longer an enemy, but a strict teacher. It's like a sharpening stone. No one enjoys being ground against it, but only through it does a blade become sharp and bright. And so, we have walked the full journey of turning pain into power. From here, a new path to true wealth begins, learning to transform clarity and stillness into invisible strength. After walking through creativity, habit, discipline, and pain, we realize something profound. Wealth is not only in what we do, but also in what we choose not to do. In a noisy world where everyone rushes to speak and to prove themselves, silence becomes a rare form of power. Silence is not weakness. It is strength wrapped in calm. Those who know how to be silent listen more deeply, observe more wisely, and gain quiet advantages while others reveal their hands. And sometimes opportunity smiles only upon those who know how to wait, to stay still, and to listen. Lesson 60, silence. The cloak that hides true power. When a tiger hunts, it doesn't roar. It moves quietly, step by step, its eyes calm, focused, and unshaken. It is that very silence that makes it the true king of the jungle. Silence is the cloak that covers real strength. The wise never need to boast because their actions and results speak louder than any words could. The quieter you are, the harder you are to predict, and that in itself is power. When Xiao Xiao was young, people often looked down on him. Once he pretended to be foolish, remaining silent in the face of mockery, letting others grow careless. Later, when he finally acted, they realized too late how wrong they were. It was his silence that hid his strategy and helped him seize opportunity. Cao Dao once asked himself, is it worth swallowing my pride in silence? But he came to understand. Staying silent today is so my voice can be heard farther tomorrow. He realized that the silent person isn't speechless. They are simply waiting for the right moment, so that when they speak, the whole world listens. In life, those who talk too much often expose their weaknesses, while those who master silence hold the upper hand. Great negotiators and wise leaders use silence as a weapon. Silence is like an iceberg. Above the surface, all seems calm, but beneath lies a massive force few can ever grasp. Yet silence is not only for concealment, it is also for listening. For those who truly listen can see opportunities long before the ones who only speak. Silence is not weakness. It is wisdom dressed in humility. And sometimes the greatest strength of all is knowing when to stay silent. Lesson 61, listening in silence. The key that unlocks opportunity. In a meeting, everyone was eager to speak, voices overlapping each other. Only An sat quietly, carefully jotting down every word. When the room finally fell silent, the boss turned to her and asked, "What do you think?" and calmly summarized the main points and offered a balanced solution. The room went quiet again. The boss nodded. "This," he said, "is the idea I'll go with." Silence isn't just the absence of words, it's the presence of deep listening. Those who truly listen notice what others overlook. Opportunities often hide in the quiet spaces where no one else is paying attention. Anne was often underestimated because she didn't talk much. But it was her quiet observation that helped her see the project's real need. Her few well-chosen words ended up securing a major contract for the company. There were times when Anne wondered, am I just too shy? But when her solution brought real results, she realized silence is strength, not weakness. She learned that listening is how we discover the doors of opportunity that loud voices tend to miss. Today, great investors and leaders speak less and listen more. Their quiet observation helps them spot trends long before they become obvious to others. In life, those who know how to listen earn trust more easily. And from trust, new opportunities for collaboration appear. Listening in silence is like a still lake. Only when the wind stops can the water reflect the moon clearly. Yet silence isn't only for listening. It is also the art of keeping secrets, a shield that protects opportunity from the eyes of those who would steal it. Lesson 62, silence to protect secrets, guarding your opportunities. How many times have you casually shared a plan only to see someone else act on it before you could? Opportunities are like tender green sprouts. Speak of them too soon, and the storm will crush them before they grow. The wise understand that silence is the best way to protect an opportunity. Only when things are ripe enough should they be brought into the light. Zhuge Liang once devised a plan to borrow the eastern wind that helped Zhou Yu win the Battle of Red Cliffs. Before the battle, he stayed silent, revealing nothing. When the wind finally came and the flames roared to life, everyone was astonished. Had he spoken even a single word too early, the entire strategy would have failed. There were times he was urged, why not explain it to ease the soldiers' minds? But he knew the truth. The time had not yet come, and words spoken too soon could only bring harm. From then on, he understood. Silence is the shield that guards an opportunity until it is strong enough to shine on its own. Today, many startups fail because they boast about their ideas too early. only to have them copied before they can take action. Meanwhile, the wiser founders stay quiet and prepare carefully, revealing their work only when it's truly ready. Keeping silent about your plans is like letting wine age in a sealed jar. Open it too soon, and it's just bland water. Wait until it matures, and it becomes rich and full of flavor. But silence isn't only for secrecy. Sometimes it's the art of observation, letting others reveal themselves so you can move first. Silence is not avoidance, it's timing. Just like a farmer, you harvest only when the season is right. Lesson 63, silence that reveals others, holding the power in your hands. In a business negotiation, the client kept pressing Hung to lower his price. He didn't rush to answer. He simply smiled and stayed silent. After a few uneasy minutes, the client, anxious to break the silence, raised the offer himself. And just like that, Hung secured a much better deal. Silence in communication is like an open space on a go board. Those who stay calm in silence often make others uneasy, forcing them to expose their weaknesses. Hung later shared, "My heart was pounding. I wanted to speak so badly, but when I stayed patient, I saw the other side start to lose their composure. That's when I knew I was in control." At times, he worried, what if staying silent cost me the deal? But it was precisely the silence that made the other party reveal too much. He realized that in negotiation, as in life, silence can be the most powerful reply. Employers, negotiators, even parents all know this truth. Silence used wisely makes others speak more. It's the art of taking control without saying a word. Silence is like a mirror. The quieter it is, the clearer people see themselves. And beyond that, silence is also the art of preserving dignity, of not being dragged into useless arguments. Gossip is like a dusty wind. The more you fight it, the dirtier you become. The wise don't waste their breath. They stand still and let the wind pass. When you are falsely accused or attacked, arguing back only feeds the chaos. Silence in that moment is not weakness, but grace, allowing time to reveal the truth. Once Confucius was mocked by a petty man on the road. His students grew angry and asked, "Master, why didn't you respond?" Confucius smiled. "When a dog barks at its reflection, should I bark back?" The group fell silent. It was that very silence that made people admire him even more. At first, his students thought he was being too passive, but later they understood. Silence is the choice not to stoop down to the level of the ignorant. Sometimes the loudest reaction is no reaction at all. Today, in the noisy world of social media, the wise do not join the endless debates. They stay quiet and focus on creating true value. That silence is a shield that guards reputation. Gossip is like rain, and silence is the waterproof cloak. You can't stop the rain from falling, but you can stay dry. And in the end, silence brings one final gift. It helps you hear your inner voice, the quiet wisdom that leads you to real opportunity. Lesson 64, silence to hear yourself, unlocking intuition and opportunity. In the noise of everyday life, it's easy to lose the voice within. Only in silence can we truly hear what the heart wants to say. Silence is the space where wisdom takes root. The wise treat it as a refuge, a quiet place to look inward, to reflect and reconnect. From that stillness, intuition grows sharper with every decision. Min, an investor, has a simple habit. He sits quietly for 15 minutes before making any big choice. His friends tease him. "How can sitting still make you money?" He just smiles. It's those quiet moments, he says, that help him see what's real opportunity and what's just illusion. Because of that stillness, he has avoided many downfalls that others rushed into. Once he faced a project that looked too good to be true. In a moment of silence, his intuition whispered, "Something isn't right." He listened to that feeling, and months later, the project collapsed. He understood then that silence isn't just rest. It's the inner frequency where the mind and heart speak clearly together. Today, many leaders practice quiet time, a few minutes of silence before big decisions. Entrepreneurs, artists, athletes, they all turn to stillness to strengthen intuition. Opportunities often reveal themselves in that quiet pause. Silence is like the surface of a deep well. Only when the water is still can you see your reflection in the source beneath. And so, we have walked through the journey of silence, from the cloak that hides strength, to the art of listening, to the dignity it protects, and finally to the door it opens into intuition. From here, we enter another level of wisdom, transforming simplicity into lasting wealth. When you truly understand the power of silence, you realize that sustainable success does not come from complexity, but from simplicity. Complexity scatters the mind, simplicity focuses it. In business and in life, the real answer is not always doing more, but often doing less. Simplicity is not emptiness, it's refinement. It's the art of removing what's unnecessary to keep only what truly matters. And it's that clarity, or that quiet elegance, that creates the most lasting profit, both in wealth and in the soul. Lesson 65, Simplicity for Focus, the power of a single arrow. Light that spreads in all directions glows softly, but when it focuses into a single beam, it becomes a laser strong enough to cut through steel. Simplicity is the art of stripping away the unnecessary so we can focus on what truly matters. The wise don't do 10 things halfway. They do one thing completely. Focus is the secret that turns something small into something great. Hai opened a coffee shop. At first, he sold everything: milk, tea, juices, snacks. Customers came in confused, unsure what the shop was really about. After some thought, he cut everything else and kept only espresso coffee, pouring all his energy into making it perfect. Soon his cafe became busier than ever. His friends asked, "How can doing less make you earn more?" Hai smiled, "Because simplicity makes people remember me for coffee and nothing else." At times he worried, with so few items, will anyone come? But when he saw loyal customers returning just for the coffee, he knew he had chosen right. He realized that simplicity channels energy, and that focused energy is what creates real profit. Steve Jobs once said, "Creativity is not about adding more, but knowing what to take away." In today's noisy and crowded world, the simpler something is, the more it stands out. Simplicity is like an arrow, short, straight, and aimed precisely at the target. And beyond focus, simplicity also brings efficiency. It keeps profits from leaking away through the invisible holes of excess. Lesson 66, Simplicity for Saving, keeping your gold from slipping away. Lynn had a good income, yet she always felt something missing. One day she looked back at her spending: movie apps, home decor, clothes she rarely wore. Her life was full of things she didn't truly need. She decided to simplify. She cut 70% of unnecessary expenses. After a few months, her savings started to grow. Simplicity is a filter that stops waste. Many people earn a lot, yet stay poor because their money leaks through 1,000 small holes. The wise live simply, so their gold stays in their pockets. At first, Lynn struggled. She sighed, "If I cut all this, what's left to enjoy?" But when she saw her account balance rise, she realized the real joy was peace of mind. One day, she saw a beautiful item on sale. She almost bought it, but remembered her saving goal. She told herself, "It's nice, but I don't need it." That feeling of control was stronger than the thrill of shopping. She learned that simplicity isn't deprivation, it's freedom. Freedom from dependence on excess possessions. The minimalism movement has helped millions escape the pressure of consumerism. By simplifying, we save money, time, and even mental energy. Simplicity is like a jar with fewer cracks. It keeps the water from leaking out, so you always have enough to last. And more importantly, simplicity doesn't just preserve wealth, it preserves peace of mind. That's the most invisible, yet most valuable profit in life. Lesson 67, Simplicity for Peace, the invisible profit of the mind. Some people have wealth, houses, and cars, yet they live in constant exhaustion, worried about too many things. Others live simply, sleep deeply, and laugh easily. So who is truly rich? Simplicity doesn't just save money, it saves the mind. When we let go of excess desires, when we stop chasing what's unnecessary, we create space inside our hearts for peace to settle in. That is the invisible profit no amount of gold can compare to. The ancients told a story about a hermit in the South Mountains. He lived in a small hut with only a few books and a jar of spring water. A government official once asked, "What do you have that makes you happy?" The hermit smiled. "As long as my heart owes no debts and my mind is not in turmoil, I am already the richest man." The official fell silent, wondering, "I have thousands of treasures, yet why can't I find a single night of peace?" Simplicity is how we return peace to the mind. Only when the heart is calm can we see clearly, recognize opportunity, and truly enjoy life. Today, many people practice digital detox, logging off social media, living simply for a few days to find balance again. Peace is the foundation of lasting wealth. Simplicity is like a garden. When you remove the weeds, the soil breathes and flowers bloom brighter. And beyond peace, simplicity helps us endure the long journey. Because the lighter the load, the farther we can go. Lesson 68, Simplicity for Perseverance. Traveling far with a light load, Nam and his friend went mountain climbing. Nam carried a heavy backpack stuffed with food, clothes, and all sorts of extras. His friend brought only a few essential items. At first, Nam felt confident, thinking he was better prepared. But halfway up the mountain, he was exhausted and had to leave things behind. Meanwhile, his friend walked calmly and reached the top with ease. The path to success and wealth is much like climbing a mountain. Those who carry too much unnecessary baggage soon run out of strength. Simplicity is lightening your load so you can keep going. Nam learned a powerful lesson. Carrying more doesn't mean it's better. Less, when it's the right things, is enough. He began applying that wisdom to his work, focusing on just a few key projects instead of trying to do everything at once. The results far exceeded his expectations. At times, he felt uneasy. If I drop some projects, won't I lose opportunities? But soon he realized letting go of the extra was what allowed him to preserve energy for what truly mattered. He understood that simplicity doesn't make you poor. It gives you endurance to go all the way. Many businesses fail because they spread themselves too thin, while successful ones focus on a few core products. Simplifying is the secret to lasting strength on a long journey. Simplicity is like a lightweight boat. The less it carries, the faster it glides, and the sooner it reaches shore. And from that perseverance, we come to see that simplicity isn't just a method. It's a philosophy of life, a source of calm, steady energy that makes everything around us lighter, brighter, and deeper. Lesson 69, Simplicity for Positive Energy. A room filled with clutter makes people feel suffocated. But a tidy, bright room brings a sense of ease and calm. Simplicity in life works the same way. It creates fresh, uplifting energy that spreads to everyone around. People who live simply often make others feel comfortable. They are less demanding, less complicated, and their very presence radiates positive energy. That kind of energy is also a form of invisible profit, helping them attract genuine and supportive relationships. Thao, a young team leader, never fussed over fancy words or appearances. She focused only on the work that truly mattered. Her team felt relaxed around her, and because of that, they worked in harmony and consistently achieved great results. One colleague once said, "You're so simple, yet working with you always feels light and easy." At times, Thao worried, "Am I being too plain? Will people think less of me?" But when she saw her team's unity, she understood that simplicity was her natural charm. She realized that simplicity builds trust and comfort, opening doors to lasting partnerships. In a complex world, brands and people who live simply often stand out because they feel authentic and trustworthy. That's why the minimalist lifestyle continues to spread across the world. Simplicity is like a cool breeze on a hot summer day. It doesn't boast or shout, but everyone wants to be near it. And beyond its power to spread calm, simplicity also helps preserve honesty, the foundation of every lasting form of wealth. Lesson 70, Simplicity for Honesty, the Final Treasure. The more complicated life becomes, the easier it is for people to get caught up in tricks and deceit. Simplicity is the path back to honesty, a treasure more precious than any amount of gold. Simplicity helps us live truthfully, without pretension or excuses. The wise treat honesty as the capital of trust, and trust is the strongest currency in every relationship, in every deal. Tu, a student of Confucius, was known for his straightforward nature. Once, he was assigned to collect taxes. Seeing how poor the villagers were, he reported the exact amount, neither adding nor taking away. His superior was surprised and asked, "Why didn't you keep a portion for yourself?" Tu replied, "Simplicity means doing what is right. If I take more than I should, my heart will never rest." That pure honesty earned him deep respect from others. At first, Tu felt a bit bitter, watching others grow rich faster than he did. But he soon realized that peace of mind is the most enduring profit of all. True wealth is when your pockets are full, but your heart stays clean. Today, transparent and simple businesses are the ones that keep customer loyalty and long-term trust. An honest person may lose small gains, but will always earn something greater: reputation and faith. Simplicity is like a clear mirror. Whoever looks into it sees truth without distortion, because it's not clouded by deceit. Dear friends, we have walked together through a long journey, where every step was a lesson and every experience a guiding light. We began by realizing that we ourselves are the greatest asset. We learned to value time, to turn knowledge, relationships, habits, failures, pain, silence, and finally simplicity into priceless capital. If we look back at the whole path, the red thread running through it all is not how to have more, but how to turn what we already have into value. Wealth is not measured by the money in our hands, but by our ability to transform everything: challenges, habits, pain, silence, and simplicity into lasting sources of growth. Time turns into opportunity. Knowledge becomes invisible wealth. Relationships become precious capital. Failure becomes future profit. Pain becomes strength. Habits become dividends. Silence becomes power, and simplicity becomes sustainable gain. The wise do not chase after having more. They learn how to transform what they already hold. Whether it's little or much, sweet or bitter, they turn it into something that benefits both today and tomorrow. You may feel like you have nothing right now. No capital, no connections, no clear chance. But don't lose heart. True wealth never starts with what's out of reach, but with what's already in your hands. A single moment, a single habit, a single wound, a single pause, or a single act of simplicity can become the seed of something priceless. If you're failing, remember, failure is the tuition of life. The more expensive it is, the more valuable the lesson. If you're in pain, remember, scars are what make strong people. If you're being underestimated, remember, silence will give you the perfect time to shine. And if life feels too complicated, try simplifying it. You'll see that being lighter is a kind of wealth. This journey reminds us, wealth isn't about how much you have, but about how much you can transform. The poor see a brick and think it's just clay. The wise see it and imagine a whole house. The average see failure as loss. The wise see it as experience gained. The impatient see silence as emptiness. The awakened see it as opportunity. Here's a truth worth remembering. True wealth is knowing how to turn everything into an asset. The visible and the invisible. The sweet and the bitter alike. If these words touch you, ask yourself, what am I leaving untransformed in my life? Maybe it's a small habit, a pain still unhealed, or just a few quiet moments each day. Share your thoughts in the comments. Your experience may become a guiding light for someone else. And if you find this journey meaningful, pass it on to your friends and loved ones. Because wealth, my friend, is not a solitary path. It's a shared current that grows stronger when we all learn how to transform together.